All right. OBS is started. All right, I got the notification. Let me know, Addict, if it sound good and all that good stuff.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
All
looking
right.
good.
I think we're
I'm
good.
in a commercial, but
Yeah, you're not live yet.
Well,
yeah,
live
you
on my
live.
side.
You're live.
All right. And we are live. Welcome to the Iron Lords Podcast and the Lords of Gaming.net, episode number 135. It is another glorious Sunday. We're back at the round table on the Lord's Day. I'm extremely excited about our special guest, and we've got Unto the End, PS5 leaks, Game of the Award discussions, Amazon entering the streaming realm to discuss. So we're going to get right into it. I want to introduce a Lord whose journey I paid extreme close attention to since Project North first caught my eye in 2017. The subtle atmospheric storytelling of the environments, combined with the visceral combat animations of our favorite Torment lookalike, invoke strong feels of Limbo, Inside, Out of This World, and of course, Game of Thrones. Introducing one half of the dynamic husband and wife duo of the Two Ton Studios and creative director of the highly anticipated Unto the End video game franchise. The Lord of E3's ID at Xbox segment, and by far the coolest Punch-Out fan in the realm. Live from California, by way of Canada, and making his debut into the realm of the Lords. My man, Lord Stephen Danton of Two Ton Studios. How you doing, sir?
Very good. Thanks so much, guys. That was an amazing intro.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, excellent, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Apologies to everyone. Sarah isn't able to make it. She's out helping a friend right now, but she passes along her hellos and well wishes.
Salute, man. You are a lord at what you do. I know we have been in discussion for some time to get this happening, man. Absolute pleasure to have you around, man. We are about to have some fun, man. Thanks for coming.
Can't wait.
Much
For sure.
appreciated. You already know. And of course, you know, we got the four horsemen of gaming, those original realms, lords of the realm at the round table. My co-host with the co-most, my brother from another mother, the difficult game conqueror, Lord of Reviews, and the how of the young wolf. My man, Lord Addict, how you doing, sir?
I am struggling.
You're sick and tired of these 11 o'clocks, right?
I even got good sleep. I don't like. Last week I had no sleep. And I was better last week than I am this week. It makes no sense.
Listen,
I'm with you. I'm feeling it.
Okay, I got about 2 more weeks, then we go back to 1 o'clock. So
I got about one more week.
No, I don't know. No, we staying here.
No, you liked it. Yeah. Sam likes this time. He's like, yeah, I get the rest of the day to myself.
Everybody put Sovereign in the bushes, please. Put
the bushes in there.
In the air.
I see the bushes. Oh, yeah, the bushes emojis in there. I already see.
Oh, there in the bushes. I don't want to join us at 11 a.m.
No, brother. It affects your Saturday night, man. But it is what it is. And of course, we have the most technical gaming lord, the solo gamer who lives for the single player selfish experience, and also the Sostradamus. Mr. Offline Profile Illuminati and Lord Patreon of the Iron Bank. My man, Lord Sovereign. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm wide awake. Unlike
other people.
Get him the bushes.
I was watching boxing too. I was having
someone
fun
kick him
night.
out.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with these old men. I don't know what's going on.
Wow. You know, old people wake up early, right?
Yeah, I know generally, right? I'm Benjamin Button in the whole thing. I'm going in reverse.
What's been going on, man? What you been playing, man?
I finally got invited to the party. Finally, I'm in the xCloud party now. Finally.
All right. Let's get that streaming. You doing your streaming?
I'm doing my streaming, man. I have to say, I really have to say, man, it is super impressive what I'm able to play on a 4G LTE connection.
Unbelievable.
It really is. Like they tell you, like, hey, man, really 5G when you're on the Wi-Fi, 5G. Obviously, they're looking forward to 5G data to be the point that really kind of sends the message that the streaming is for real. But honestly, what they're able to accomplish on 4G LTE
is pretty impressive.
Is damn impressive. I was playing. I had a little bit of an issue yesterday, and Kaibatsu helped me out with the my right analog stick wasn't responding. But I guess I just needed an update. He did that, whatever.
Oh, controller update. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize, and it didn't prompt me to do it. So I didn't realize what was happening. So, but man, I played a little bit of everything. Crackdown, Forza. And like, man, if your connection is steady, you're
Mhm.
getting a pretty decent experience,
How's
man.
that
Like,
latency? What's that latency looking like?
well, latency is the thing is, I think Kareem Chowdhury said it. Like, he's like, listen, we're not trying to sell you mystical arts here. Like,
Right.
there's always going to be latency, right?
Right.
You play, even if you're playing on your couch, you're going to have latency. It's a matter of making the latency consistent across the board so that you get accustomed to it, and then you're playing just fine, like anything else. So it's not like, the Stadia negative latency thing where
They were working
saying
that sorcery.
they're working to
the predictive
eliminate it.
technology that
Right.
guess
And I
your
mean,
move
Did
before
they
you do it.
predict that they folded my destiny on Friday? Did they predict that?
Yo, I think
So
that
the
it's
thing
funny you said that. I think that has something to do with the crosshair. We'll get to you, Ken.
No, it
yeah,
did. It had
but that's
everything
the
to
thing.
do
Like,
with it.
again, the predictive technology, I think, is real, but it's just the way they're saying it. It's like black magic right now, right? Like,
Right.
you have to work towards that.
Right.
But I guess once you get that latency to a point where it's even across the board, and you know what to expect, and you know how long your button prompts are going to take to show up, and you're constantly playing it, it's fine.
No doubt, no doubt. So that's been pretty much it, sir.
That's pretty much it, man.
And of course, we have the Incredible Hulk of this, aka the Excess Gamer,
Ooh.
the Lord of Combat Sports, King of the Statues, who demands nothing less than that premium experience. It is the leader of the Fraud Alert movement.
Ooh.
Beloved Lord King, how you doing, sir?
To this day.
To this day. Woo!
Day.
Woo!
Boy, I told you guys what was gonna go down in that
you did.
fight.
Yes, you did.
And Luis Ortiz, King Kong Luis Ortiz came in the best shape of his life, and he gave the best 6 rounds of his life. Until it was actually he gave the best 7 rounds of his life. And what Deontay Wilder tells you all the time, every time, y'all got to be perfect for 45 minutes. I got to be perfect for 2.5 seconds.
Accurate.
And he hit him with a bolt of lightning. Zoop, struck this man down. His legs went to jelly, his body, his spine. It's like Sub-Zero yanked the spine out this man. And this man crumbled into a heap of mess of goo on the floor.
You can't. You know what they
I
do?
have to say,
Good, so I'm good. I got something after
I'm usually disgusted by Deontay Wilder. I mean, I don't like his style, whatever. But I give the man has power. The man has heart. And he looked disgusting throughout that whole fight.
Yes.
But the best thing he threw was that right cross. It was perfect. It was short. It was right to the point. And when you saw the sweat fly off of Ortiz's head, it was a sweat cleaner. It was one of them sweat. Like, you're sweaty, I got you.
Yo, King, you know how foul the internet is. All right, after the knockout, you remember how he was slumped? They had that picture, and then they had the picture of the life alert old woman.
Yeah.
She's calling out, I'm falling, I can't get up. I said, yo, the
Get
internet is, I said, it's too soon. It's too soon. You can't be doing them like that.
Listen, man, I told you guys how it was going to go. And if you watched it, it was beautiful because in the first fight, Combat Talk is up right now, guys.
Yes,
watch
sir,
it after
please.
this.
I love podcast. The King's talked up there.
Listen, if you watch the first fight, he didn't catch him flush, right? This was, and I've always said it. If this man catches anybody flush on top of that noggin, it's over. And I don't know why his chin was in the air. I don't know why he took his eyes off the prize. But again, we have the heavyweight champion of the world moving forward, and now we can look forward to Joshua versus Andy Ruiz, the little engine that could, part 2.
Yes.
And we're gonna see what happens there. But this week.
Yeah, what's up? What you been playing?
Okay, I told you guys, remember that game, The Last Station? So that game, I told you guys in Game Pass, I'm a Game Pass junkie. And
hold on. Not to cut you, sir. We actually missed a super chat from Lord Dizzy, the $2 super chat. King O Solve Knees. Hashtag never forget. He still saw you. He's on your neck early.
Dizzy. Put some bushes for you, D.
Continue. I missed that super chat. I'm sorry. Continue.
All right. So The Last Station is up right now, and it's an indie game that made it to Game Pass from ID Xbox. And I told you guys it was fantastic. All right. So for you guys who don't have Game Pass, it's free this month if you have games with gold.
Okay.
Right. Download it, check it out. It's one of those games that trust me, if you like zombies, if you like thrillers, if you like to, story is made in a 16-bit format.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. They work very hard on it, and it's my suggestion. Well,
If you ever seen a movie called Train to Busan, it's a Korean zombie movie, sort of the same. It's a train thing. Zombies on a train, and you trying to get to a certain place where supposedly you can get away from the infestation.
Nah, bro.
It's reminiscent of that. The last station is very cool.
Very cool. So I've been playing since Game Pass decided to, put out all these great games. Rage 2 is in there. I'm upset that I purchased that. Is in there. Also, I've been shout out to the great Mr. Bill Stillwell.
Salute to the Great Wall. I saw the shirt when he put up. Yeah.
Brothers, I am inside xCloud.
Oh, you made it! You made it to the
I'm in.
All right.
I told you. Somebody told me, a little bird told me, look at your app. What are you talking about? You're not in.
Yes.
And I said, no, I'm not in.
Problem I had.
Notification.
I didn't get no notification. I was just in it.
Yeah.
It was like as soon as XO happened, it happened. Yo, shout out to the chat, School Text Talk, my man. Old school style. Train to Busan is awesome. And then Undead tells you one of the top indies he played, King David, with the good taste in games. That's what's up, man.
It's a beautiful game. So,
the Game Pass emojis in the chat, y'all. So Def Sing, all y'all check that out. Hit that Game Pad. We got them in there now. So put the game.
That's me. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Continue.
Listen. So, Game Pass has a bunch of games out right now. I downloaded Borderlands for the weekend free. Nice. There's so many programs that they're doing, guys. Even if you don't have Game Pass, you can definitely be part of the ecosystem. The free-to-play weekend, Borderlands is up, plus it's 33% off in the Xbox store. Go in there, check that stuff out, and have a good time because there's games in there. Like some of the games that we're going to talk about today that should be highlighted. All this award show stuff, it doesn't give a highlight, and I have a good thought on how they can go forward with these programs to highlight a month. Every month they have a reward for what games come out for that month. But
no doubt. Shout out to PC Master Race. Good morning, Lords. You guys are one of the best podcasts on the internet. Love you guys. Thank you. Love you back. Salute. See, I read something not in color. Can you be proud? And of course,
I'm gonna mute my mic.
King don't acknowledge it if it don't happen.
I would not be proud.
I would not. Salty's gaming in the building. What's going on? Def Singer. What's going on? And of course, we have the Lord of the Cooperative Experience and Gaming Ninja himself, the Shinobi, spreading that realness in the realm of the ILP. Not telling you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Same deal as Soft. Project xCloud has some fantastic testing with Kaibatsu and Addict as well. I was doing xCloud at work on my phone. Had a Bluetooth headset. I had maximum latency. I wanted to push it to the limit. I had like Bluetooth headset, Bluetooth control. I wasn't even tethered to the joint. I'm doing Xbox Live Party Chat. Sky, he's at work, remote console streaming through xCloud from work into his Xbox. And then Addict is local on his PC. And we're all in Party Chat together playing it. And I'm just like, wow, this is sorcery right now, man. Like this is really cool. And again, I just gotta get out like a dedicated because I'm using the S9, and I just need like a dedicated headset that goes into the standard port, so I can do it the traditional way. Because I really want to eliminate as much latency as possible, during that setup. But to have me push it to the limit that way, and mind, I'm going on 4G cellular, bro, LTE, like that was crazy to me. So salute to the team. They out here doing very well. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I played a little bit of Jedi Fallen Order, and what else? I think that was pretty much a little bit of
You purchased?
Oh yeah, I did purchase. Definitely did purchase. I had to do it, man. I was hearing too many good things about it, so had to do it.
I want to purchase, but I didn't finish my Zelda on my Switch. So
okay, your backlog. Okay, all right. So that's what we got into. What the Lords are playing. I want to start with Lord Stephen, his video game system history, his journey into the games industry, and of course what led him to creating 2 Ton Studios and the super promising UntoTheEnd video game franchise. So Lord Stephen, let's start from the very beginning. What were some of the first video game systems you had, and what got you into gaming?
So I got into gaming. My mom got me when I was like 8, maybe 7 years old, a Texas Instrument 99, which is like had like a keyboard and like it was like not like a ColecoVision or like an Atari but it was similar, like Texas Instrument. Instead of making calculators, they decided to make a game console. And they had I don't know. I can't remember any of the games. There was some mountain climbing game. There was like a Pac-Man ripoff. And as soon as I started playing that, I just like fell in love with games, and I've kind of always been interested in games ever since then. I grew up as a Sega guy.
Oh,
bro! I lived across the street from like these two kids, about the same age as me and my brother, and they were Nintendo guys.
Okay,
it was all like a rivalry, right? Woo! But everyone we switch consoles, right? You'd switch the NES for the Master System or whatever. Yeah, I was a pretty hardcore Sega guy. Sega Master.
You had that Master System. You had the red and black console. Did you have any? Did you have any of the little hue cards that used to go inside?
Like Teddy Boy and stuff. Like some of those games were like
Teddy Boy. What was it?
My Hero.
My Hero.
Yeah.
Haunted House, was it? Like it
was yes. Talk that Master System talk. So you had that friend that had that NES. Were you a little jealous, sir? Were you a little jealous?
Like when you're, it's weird. Like nowadays with all the internet and stuff, you're so what other games are out there, right?
Yes.
But back in those days, you just kind of hear like, oh, Mario is a game, or you'd hear like all this stuff, and then you'd wonder. And then you'd switch, and then like when I got to play like Punch Out, for example, for the first time, or like Zelda for the first time, and things like that. I mean, you fell in love with those games too, and they're like huge inspiration for me even today. So, and then I kind of went cold a little bit on, not cold on games in terms of consoles, but like I didn't play, like I kind of missed the PlayStation era and the PlayStation 2 era. So like a lot of games that, like all the Crash Bandicoots, like Bushido Blade, all those games, like I studied a lot of those as a game designer, but I've not like played a lot of them. Played more PC games. And also kind of like in the midst of high school, I think I was more interested in partying. Video games for a phase.
Your focus shifted. That's only your focus shifted.
And so I played some like PC games, like original Warcraft and like Diablo and stuff, or like huge games. Original XCOM.
Okay, that's what's up, man.
And then like cycle back into like consoles and stuff like that with 360. I actually worked at Microsoft. Like I was an intern at Microsoft in 2001. Oh wow! And then I joined Microsoft after that. And I remember we thought like Halo was really big then, so everyone was playing Halo. Huge. So made Halo. Halo was a great game, but also you could play co-op. Right at Microsoft, there was Xboxes in every conference, like every little meeting.
So y'all were doing them LAN parties. Oh,
we playing, and everyone's all the interns around the same age. You're just playing like Halo all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, mostly I play on PC now. Actually, like I don't play just. Sarah and I have like a smaller little place. I don't even have a TV. So I just play. I play on my on my desktop and stuff like that. So yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah. Salute to the gaming history. Continue. I didn't want to interrupt you. If you still got more you talk.
No. Yeah. So that's how kind of that started. Console thing. What were your other things? How did I get
I was gonna ask you. Actually, I'm gonna pay the bills, and I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions. Shout out to Cat Daddy Fat Stacks with $2 super chat. I'm gonna leave Game Pass in my will for my kids. Thank you. All right. Salute to him. But
that
man.
Sounds like you wanted something, sir.
No doubt. So you had. I just want to ask you. You had that gap. You said Sega Master System, whatever. So what was the last console before the gap of you going away from gaming? Like, was it? Did you have the Genesis at all, or did you after the Master?
Yeah, I had Genesis, tons of Genesis games. Played a lot of Super NES games, and then like Dreamcast, PlayStation 1. We had my brother also. He's 2.5 years younger than me. He's in games as well. He's a constant on Gears of War, actually.
Name drop.
You can see a lot of his, like Kotaku did a thing on him where he did, like as a concept artist, and then like he was. I think some of his stuff was featured.
The Danton Lords are about this life. Okay, we do this game stuff. Okay.
We always wanted to make games, so we kind of went in slightly different directions. But yeah, so then I had a. N64 was probably the last console I owned.
Gotcha.
I played like a ton of GoldenEye and like 3D Mario and stuff like that. That was a great game. Nice. Yeah, and then I didn't play for a bit, and then got back into it after it kind of got done school and yeah. So
Nice, man. Tremendous history. Loving the well-roundedness. So, yeah, I'm gonna move on as far as now the career aspects, and then like getting into the gaming industry. I know you said you worked at Microsoft for a little bit, and then doing some research on. Yeah, you did some had some stuff on the Azure portal. You're working
yeah,
on that, and
yeah, I did.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's
go
get
ahead.
to it. No, let's get to it, man. Let's get to how difficult was it? As far as tell us about that process, and then obviously, starting that dream to kind of get into game, to chase your dream to get into game. So let's get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was at Microsoft for about 12 years. When I started, Microsoft was like a super serious place where like it was much cooler than say IBM. IBM was like the stiff kind of everyone wore a tie, and Microsoft you could kind of wear shorts.
Nice.
It's still pretty serious. I remember when I was an intern, I was working on this team that doesn't exist anymore. But one of the things I did was I'm a designer, so I came up with the idea for tab browsing. Like in web browsing, you have tabs, and it's kind of ubiquitous. Like I came up with that idea at Microsoft, and I pitched it to my managers. And I remember this one guy said to me, he's like, "We don't invent things here. Your job is to like do what we tell you to do and not do stuff." And I was like, "Wow, this place sucks."
So wait, they shut you down on inventing tabs, bro?
And then tomorrow your
And now
tabs
tabs is
pop up.
like the hottest thing right now. Like I can't go without my browser without tabs.
Crazy, right? Yeah, like in their defense, at that time, the web browser was a solved problem, right? Like people were like they had like a handful of people working on Internet Explorer. There was no competition. They thought they'd won the browser wars with Netscape.
Netscape. Oh, I'm taking it back. Yo, Saul, remember Netscape, son?
Netscape, oh my God, with the disc they would give you with the like 10-hour.
Shout out to the 33.6 modems we had. Netscape. Let's go.
Yeah, so that was the battle, right? And they thought they'd won, so they didn't. When I had ideas for like how to make the web browser better, they didn't care. But 3-4 years later, then Firefox came out with tab browsing, and then Chrome, and then now it's like the way to go, right? So I almost didn't even stay at Microsoft. I was like, this place is not for me. But I did a round of interviews after my internship, and I also got to meet Bill Gates. So that kind of like he was a really good guy. He actually has all the interns over to his house for dinner during the summer.
Oh, that's nice.
And his place is like a museum. It's like this ridiculously crazy. It's almost like in a way like a superhero like lair.
Yeah, like a mausoleum, like the Justice
Yeah.
League. The
That's
Hall
what
of
I'm
Justice.
aspiring to. I'm aspiring to that.
But I was lucky to join a team that did like a lot of concepting work. Like they were reinventing Office and kind of reinventing tooling.
Okay.
And I stayed for 11 years doing that stuff. Like always at Microsoft, you call them like a V1 project. So it's the first generation of something where you're trying to, forge basically new ground in a new market or solve new problems. And so I did that. And then Azure was the last thing I did where I remember we started the team and they didn't have any real designers in it. So it was really kind of a bloodbath, getting people that are very technical to understand the role of designers and kind of carving out an area for design. But yeah, the last project I worked on was really a rethinking of Windows.
Nice.
We doing it kind of in a way that focused more on professionals. Like Windows is kind of this great ubiquitous thing, but the analogy, I don't know if this will resonate with you guys, but the analogy was, look, if you're in the Army, like, and you're a GI, like a standard infantry guy, you get the standard kit, right? Like you get everyone with the same boots and pants and stuff.
Yes,
if you're part of Delta Force, like you can kind of decide whatever you want, right? You're like, I'm going to wear mountain climbing boots, I'm going to wear a bike helmet, I'm going to use this weapon. And we, the big thought was like, look, Windows is great because it caters to all these people. But if I'm going to spend, 8-10 hours a day crafting art or making movies or whatever, I should be able to have a suite of tools and an operating system that is really customizable for me that I can turn and make, my own because of the way I work versus say someone like my brother. Just because we're both in games doesn't mean we work exactly the same way.
Exactly.
So,
Okay.
That was kind of the last project I did, but that really helped me. Like that always being on the frontier of like thinking of new ideas and innovating and trying to find out differentiation within projects, I think set me up well to do games.
Absolutely, that creative aspect. So, I mean, I guess my question for you in reference to the Microsoft days for you, I think obviously it helped mold you, but did you feel it restricted you, it kind of limited you in that box whereas gaming kind of allowed you to spread your wings on the creative side?
Yeah, I mean, gaming, I think a little bit. Yeah, like I think if you talk to any of my colleagues back at Microsoft, they would be like, oh, yeah, that guy, he was nuts.
Slander!
But like I definitely like to challenge convention. And I'm very proud of some of the things we did at Microsoft and some of the patents and stuff that I've received. But I think gaming, for me, it's the ultimate creative medium. You have to bring together so many different skills. I think I was really shocked after Sarah left. She was an interior designer.
Oh, wow.
She left her business, and I left Microsoft. And I really did have like a dream job. I was a concept architect and kind of ran a team of like designers and just kind of ran around coming up with ideas. But I left that job and I thought, I'd hit the ground running, and 12 months later we have a game out, and I was really surprised. I don't know. I think it's definitely been harder than I thought it would be, but I kind of knew at the back of my mind that to do something really great would be hard anyway. Yeah. But I think the number of skills you have to bring together, like animation, art, storytelling, pacing, fundamentals of game design, sound, like a sonic experience, I think just it's a lot of black arts in games. I don't think people appreciate like something as simple as like game feel, like when you move a character left and right and jump and stuff like that. That is like there's some cool books, like actually a book called Game Feel by Steve Swink, but that like getting that right, like Sarah and I really did spend like probably about a year just with the little guy in a room running back and forth and swinging the sword, just to get it to feel appropriate, and deliberate and stuff like that. And so I think I took that for granted, how much work it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, not easy, man. I want to give some shout outs in chat. Gersh Gaming, Steven's my hero. Shout out to Tip Diamonds, the $2 super chat. Salute the Iron Lord panel. Hit that like button. Big Cloud, I see you. Yeah, man, this is actually a perfect segue because, you're mentioning taking that leap of faith now. You and Sarah now going and then forming your own studio. You know what I'm saying? So I want to get to that. And then just obviously, Two Ton has a unique dynamic because obviously it's a husband and wife team. So I wanted to kind of touch on that as well, the advantages and disadvantages of that. And just, what was those steps now to say, okay, let's do it. Let's make a studio and let's really go hard at making our own game.
Sure. Let me. I don't know if Gersh is the guy, a guy I used to work with at Microsoft, but if it is,
yeah, Gersh. It says Gersh Games. I don't know.
Gersh was a great guy. He and I worked together at Microsoft, and I actually mentored him, and he was an intern when I was a little bit more senior, so I saw him grow and go through his career. And very great guy. So
he says, "Yup, it's me."
Right. Awesome.
Salute Gersh Games in the chat. Welcome to the room.
No. In terms of forming Two Ton Studios, Sarah and I left with, we kind of felt like we had the skills to make something interesting, but we also went into it with a very, I guess, artist mindset of, hey, like let's try and do something that we think is interesting, but if it fails, that's okay. Like there's a lot of super talented people out there. There's a lot of people with really great ideas, and also sometimes the games that Sarah and I like aren't necessarily the games that are the most popular. And so whenever you try to do something on your own, you are always weighing, like financially, can you make this into something viable versus creatively it might be interesting, and those things aren't always the same.
Correct.
And so we went through this journey of, we packed up. Like I left my job, Sarah left her, sold her condo.
Wow, this is hardcore. We can't gloss over this, Steve. Now you're just glossing over like really going for your dream, bro. Like this is truly inspirational. Like you guys had your heart set. This is what we're gonna do. That's amazing. Continue, sir. That was awesome.
Thanks, man. No, yeah. I mean, we I guess I gloss over it because it's now like 5 years ago. But yeah, we had a great house in Seattle, a condo that really like we loved. As I said, I had a great job. Sarah had a great job. We had a good community of friends. But I think we felt that something was missing in the sense of we'd kind of done what we wanted to do, or we felt we'd done as much as we could do in the roles we were in, and we really wanted to challenge ourselves, right? And a little bit of it came down to like, do we want to have kids or not? Like, do we want to stop and have kids and then start a family, or do we want to go and try and take one more shot at kind of doing this? So we decided to do we decided to pack it all up, travel. And we just did a ton of like concepting. I think we built like 7 or 8 game concepts to learn, like how to make games, to get better at games. and some of those are pretty well realized, and some are terrible. But and then I guess it was our travels in northern Scotland and in Iceland that really kind of concretized the idea of, hey, let's make a game about like a normal guy that's struggling through a harsh environment and
he's transitioning. He's transitioning to what I was going to ask next. Continue. Set it up.
It's really about him trying to overcome this world that's bigger than him and these challenges that are bigger than him in order to get it eventually became a story about getting back home. Originally, it was a story of revenge, but really to overcome these challenges that are bigger than him. Like, we didn't want to make a game where the main character is too heroic. Like, he's not, like you have a lot of games like, God of War with Kratos and stuff like that, where, he's a demigod. Like, he's a super powerful warrior. And and you have games where you're the chosen one, and we want to kind of buck that trend where a lot of the things in the game, you come across these events where you have no choice but to fight, or or you come across architecture and stuff like that that's much bigger and grander than you, and we wanted to make the father feel kind of small, a little bit like, I think, like what the Coen brothers do in some of their movies, like No Country for Old Men,
right?
Like the hero, like Josh Brolin, is like, he's kind of the hero, but he's also just kind of this guy that falls into this situation and tries to make the best of it, and at the end you're kind of like a little bit you don't even know what really happened to the guy. There isn't this clean resolution. And so we kind of like that kind of storytelling where if you took like 2 weeks of someone's life and you kind of, tried to show that. That's kind of what we're trying to make. So,
listen, man, you transitioned perfect, because that's literally what I was about to ask you. And it was just about the main event, why we are here. You know what I'm saying? This game that we obviously I seen in 2017. And, to be completely honest, we said this offline, it was something I was hunting down for a while. I remember first seeing that trailer and completely blown away by the cinematic, the atmospheric elements. And, it was just something, again, as a fan of a person who played inside, especially first feel was out of this world where there's no
fade to black.
Yes, it's fade to black, and then saw what was cool. Like, I love those games where there's no narration and like the atmosphere.
Environmental storytelling. Yeah, complete environmental storytelling. It was just the grunts and the music, everything.
And it's one of those things, and I think there was a scene specifically that reminds me of this world, like, out of you get out the water, you don't know what's going on, and you see kind of like the black wildebeest or whatever that thing is, and you're like, yo, what's that? And it's watching. Like, I miss the games where it don't hold your hand. And literally, that's what UntoTheEnd, like, I seen it, and then you see one of those creatures from another race looking at, the main Tormund-looking guy. And then what was different was I thought it was going to be more so, like, on the inside tip. But when I saw the combat, and I'm like, wait a minute, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, there's parrying and there's faking, and I'm like, oh, there's a fighting system here. Like, this is something. So I wanted to get into that because it's a huge departure from the other two in that respect, because you have that aspect, and then it also, I know we're Punch-Out fans, I thought of Punch-Out. I thought of, like, you got your block, your high, low, timing and all that stuff. So let's get into that, like the thought process about designing a game in that fashion. And it's just a huge departure from, obviously, the Metroidvanias and the all Souls-likes kind of thing. Let's get into that part.
Yeah, so I mean, I think 2D, although there's a lot of 2D games, I still think it is, a side-on view is still one of the quintessential video game views that gives you an experience that you can't really replicate in real life. Like, even though I think first person and over the shoulder is great, I think that it's something that comes close to real life in many ways, right? Like, I can walk through a forest and kind of feel a little bit like I might be in like Death Stranding or something.
You need packages for that, sir. You need packages. Let me start with the slander. Continue.
But 2D, I think, is really unique. So, we wanted to make something like that. I also like, and it kind of leaving Microsoft, minimal UI design was kind of very big and kind of trending. And so that kind of influenced some of my art, I would say, and definitely Sarah's art. So trying to capture that. We also really wanted to capture the feel. Maybe this isn't, it's interesting when someone asks you like how to unwind your creative thinking. So
let's go
on the fly. But my brother being a concept artist and always liking concept art, like, it tends to give you the impression of a scene without the details. right? Like it's just enough detail for you to get a feel and of the mood and the tone, but it doesn't worry about like, you know, the little intricacies that you might have if you fully rendered the thing. And we want to capture that feel for people where we try to keep the art stylized enough so you know what's going on, but also abstract enough so you can pour yourself into the experience.
Right.
You know, so you can kind of imagine what the emotions are without us trying, without us forcing, you know, you to think a certain way. And the combat system itself really evolved from us doing a lot of prototyping and kind of testing things out, but kind of coming to these insights around what makes 2D really special. So I'm a big believer, and I always felt this way at Microsoft whenever I try to take on something, that if you're going to do something, you know, Steve Jobs would have said, well, just do it different because, you know, we're Apple and we do it different. But I think of it more as do it differentiated. So think about what makes your medium really unique and build a set of systems around that uniqueness. So for me in 2D, things you can do that you can't really do in 3D is judge left and right distance, judge high and low, and be able to see behind you.
Yes.
Right. And these are things like 3D, you know, like Dark Souls, if it suffers from everything, is like, one, the camera gets in your way. And two, it's very hard to like see around you, you know, and you often get, you know, kind of, you get cheaply killed, I find, in some of those.
Yeah, because you're fighting with the camera. You can't. I completely hear where you're going with that.
And then so you know, if you go like old school God of War, you don't have the I can't see behind myself problem, but you can't really judge height anymore. Like you're really restricted almost to like if you deconstruct God of War, it's really like asteroids, right? Like God of War is like asteroids, and you're just trying to like keep guys off you, and then test threats and take the next guy. And so we hadn't seen a game that had done 2D combat that really put the three things together. Like, you know, Street Fighter definitely does a lot of high, low, and zoning.
Yes.
Left and right, but you know, you don't really fight multiple guys. Right. And so we thought those three elements would make for a really interesting system. And then we layered on, you know, the ability to use friendly fire, right? Like I love emergence in games. Like I was just playing Blood Roots. The you know, I don't know if you guys know that game. It's another indie game, but it's all about picking up these obstacles and then throwing them at people. Like you can pick up a tire and like roll in it. You can pick up a firecracker, fire, and it's all about like emergent gameplay.
Gotcha.
And so I love when you can kind of feel smart by doing things in the game world, and then you have these aha moments, like, oh man, I can use like a guy who throws spears against another guy, or you know, whatever the case may be. And then the terrain we thought was interesting, like being able to use like walls and knock guys off cliffs and have opponents that could follow you where you go. Like a lot of 3D games, you know, especially the old guys like Castlevania, the guys they were zombie guys.
They would
just like run off the edge and kill themselves. Right? Yeah. Locked on a platform, like they'd run back and forth, and that's fine. I mean, in certain cases, but we wanted to have it so, like guys can jump and follow you and, you know, climb after you and things like that. And so,
let's get it.
You know, kind of have that like action movie kind of feel. Like if you watch like Die Hard, like he doesn't just spend all his time fighting on one. You know, Bruce Willis doesn't spend all of his time like fighting on one platform. He like knocks a guy into a wall and then goes into the next room and then climbs the thing. And so we want to kind of have moments that you know, like that. So yeah, I think we really just tried to make something differentiated based on a perspective, a view that we thought was neat. And that really hadn't been done before.
No doubt. Let me ask you that. Shout out to my boy Cat Daddy Fast X. He says, "Does Unto the End have a good level of difficulty?" I think so. What is your answer there?
Good level. I don't. I guess that it's always interesting. The difficulty question is always interesting because, I think Sarah and I like to think of it as not difficult but challenging. And so let me kind of qualify that a bit. So I think things are difficult when, no matter how skillful you are, how much you practice with something, you can still die unexpectedly. Yes. And so to me, that is not a kind of game that they can be frustrating, that kind of difficulty. I think a game that is challenging is a game that when you get good with it, new encounters are demanding because they're novel, not because they drop anvils on your head and you and so Unto the End is a very challenging game in the sense that we consistently throw the father into situations that are bigger and kind of unexpected, and then we leave it to the player to unwind those things. Yes, and figure out how to kind of overcome them in a quote unquote easy way. So I would say difficulty, you know, to use the more kind of generic term difficulty, we would say. Like a Punch-Out kind of thing. I don't know if people found Punch-Out difficult. Right. I don't think it's as punishing as, say, like a Dark Souls. I think I love Dark Souls. I think Dark Souls is maybe other people think it's as punishing as Dark Souls, but we have a save model like Hyperlight Drifter.
Okay.
So our idea was not to make it so that, I mean,
or are you starting us back at the beginning of the level when we die? Do I got to do the whole level if I do that? That's what they want to know, man.
I think that no, so you don't have to do that. I think Dark
Save
Souls
states.
Yeah, no, I think Dark Souls is a brilliant game, and I think that its model works really well. But for us, we wanted every enemy to be unique. Okay. So like a punch-out fight, not in a boss rush way, but every encounter and the collection of enemies makes up a unique encounter, and they have a reason for being there in the story. Dark Souls follows a little bit more of a model where you're encountering mobs of characters that are waiting for you. It's more like running a gauntlet over and over again.
Yes.
Right. And Unto the End was more about kind of that play dead kind of model, or even the older school, Under the World or Flash, where they're telling you a story based on the environment and the encounters with those creatures. They make sense for the world. Like they're not just like waiting for you. In fact, they're often surprised you're even there.
Yes,
and react to your presence aggressively because they're like, "Who is this human?" In our midst, like he should be here, right?
Be here. I want to stop you for a second. Go ahead, Attic. I hear you talk. Was Attic?
I always enjoyed games that. I always like. There's two types of difficulty when I think of games. There's difficulties like. Games that are built around those challenges in mind. And then there's difficulties like, let's just give everyone more health, make them take more damage, make them do more damage to you. Like, I feel like that's artificial difficulty. That's not challenging. It's frustrating. There's something like stuff that's made in with the Souls formula. Like, that was designed to be challenging. It wasn't designed to be difficult.
Okay. I feel you going.
I think that's a really good point, actually. We don't have any inflated like health pools. We don't have boss fights that have this guy's going to take 50 hits to kill, and we try to make it much more like a Bushido blade or like a. If you're skilled, you can defeat every enemy pretty easily. Like our kind of model is when we play. We have to be able to beat every opponent and every encounter without taking any hits and be able to do it in multiple ways.
Gotcha.
If you can't do that, then it's too hard.
Gotcha.
So it really should feel easy for me to go through it and play it because I'm designing these guys. But for someone going through it for the first time, it should feel challenging and demanding and hopefully enjoyable. So that's the kind of balance we're trying to strike.
It's like the Dark Souls games. You could beat them really fast, but the first time you play them, it's going to take you a long time.
You're super overwhelmed. Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to touch on something because you started deep dive with it in the sense of there's two things. Obviously, we saw some behind the scenes things that were pretty impressive. You know what I'm saying? Salute to Lord Stephen for that. That was amazing. I guess the thing that I want to talk about in reference to the game was that two parts. One, I didn't realize that in this game, you have the ability to avoid combat with the other races. And there are certain things that you can do that kind of lead to that, which is kind of cool. I didn't think this game had that dynamic about it. Tell me about that process, and kind of incorporating that into a game like this.
Sure, yeah. Thanks a lot, guys, by the way. Yeah, so we wanted to make, a story about a father. He's not a murderer. He's not out there to go and slay a lot of guys out of anger. He's really just trying to find the fastest way home.
Right.
And he happens to go through these situations where he needs to fight. But we wanted to kind of make it so that the creatures you're fighting, some of them, are just as smart, if not smarter than you. They have just as much culture and background. They have lives and families like you do. There's this quote where it's like, every time you meet someone, they're fighting a battle that you know nothing about. That's very true of life, and I think it's very true of like, why can't it be true in games too? Why do these creatures you fight? Why do they just have to be these mindless automatons? Why can't they also be worried about a loved one or be protecting their children or whatever?
Yes, there's a specific scene with that. I love that. Continue.
We have these moments in the game where we allow you to. We definitely allow you to fight, and that's to us part of the agency we give the player. That's what to us makes it feel like it's your story versus our story being told to you. And then we allow you to, in certain cases, be peaceful. You can put your sword away and walk by, or you can actually offer up some of your resources that you've gathered to help them out.
Yes.
And then there's also kind of these knock-on effects where you'll get certain items either through exploration or from other characters, and then you can use those. You can give those to other characters, and so there is this kind of like, these forks in the road, so to speak, with respect to the narrative that get impacted based on these decisions.
Nice.
And ultimately, kind of how the game kind of concludes, and really who the father is when he gets back to his family. Like, I don't know why this pops to mind, but there was like all those old jail movies, like in the 80s, like the one with Tom Selleck and like
them old jails. When
they go back to their family, like they're
and they're fundamentally changed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine a father who has to like fight his way through these foreign lands would come back to his family and be like you would coming back from war. You would probably be a changed person. And will your wife and daughter, will they recognize you anymore? And will you even want to be a father anymore? Is kind of a question we ask, and we allow that to play out based on the player's decisions. So,
yeah. 2 more questions with before unto the end. As far as one thing I like that you don't have any health bar on a traditional level. Everything is based on the feel of your main character. I call him Torment, my guy Torment.
Sure, yeah.
So like I've seen certain states, right? He's healthy, he's upright, he's fine. Then you kind of got he's a little damaged, heavy breathing. Then I even seen the one knee, kind of bend the knee a little bit. So like tell me about that, and then like getting your character, the things you could do to get your character, life back or whatever. Shout out to the car going by. And then also back to Sarah, because I know she's not here. I wanted to ask, like, what's her specific role with UntoTheEnd? Like, what are the things that she's responsible for in conjunction with you?
Sure, yeah. So the health bar stuff I'll tackle first. So there's this kind of principle in UI design called the foci of attention, which says, like, when I'm working on something, and you can see this like in movies, it happens everywhere. When you're working on something, you tend to kind of get like tunnel vision, and as things get more intense, you tend to focus more on the things that matter most to you, right? You've probably seen psychological studies where like a guy's shooting free throws.
Yes.
And the psychologist's like, okay, count the number of balls that go in the net, and then like a guy in a gorilla suit like runs in the background, and so, that's all like foci of attention stuff. And so we wanted to make it so that the player's focus needs to be on the hero, the main character, and the opponent. And putting like UI around the fringes now divides your focus. And so now you have to go back and forth between these things. And also, it's interesting. Like a lot of what we're doing, I think it's interesting. A lot of what we're doing is trying to push back or push aside maybe, or divert like 20 or so years of convention as to what it means to make a game about a guy with a sword who's fighting things, right? So a lot of the assumptions coming in are, okay, it's going to be fast-paced. You're going to be fighting large number of his enemies. It's more about the individual like a Dead Cells is a really good installation of that.
Sov likes that. Sov likes that.
That's where I'm at with it.
Brilliant, right? Like, but Dead Cells is a game where it's very fast-paced. Every enemy has a specific thing they do well, and it's you kind of learning that thing, and then figuring out the different, how to use your different capabilities versus those things. And so I think Dead Cells is really a masterwork in movement and pacing and stuff like that. But UntoTheEnd is not that at all. Like it's very different than that. But when people come into a game, if their expectations are not aligned correctly, they won't enjoy it. So we have to do all these things, like make it so that we have this thing like if you roll off a cliff, you'll fall face first and drop your sword. Right? And we do that because we want to show you, like, look, man, movement is a deliberate thing. You have to pay attention to what you're doing in this game, right? Like if you're in a hallway and jump up and hit your head, you'll like smack your head and hurt yourself, and then drop your sword. And so like you can kill yourself by smashing your head against the
I love all the head trauma. The head trauma. I'm a lot about this.
That's actually motivated by a story, but I'll tell you that maybe later. Anyway, the point is, though, we're trying to push that tide away, and part of it is getting rid of the HUD and making it so that blood is on the hero, because the most important skill in the game to develop as a player is the ability to observe and read and react to the threats in the world. Look at your environment kind of in the macro level and see how you could use that to your advantage, and then at the micro level be able to look at an opponent and see if they're attacking high or low, or are they faking me or bashing me or whatever. So it just made sense to kind of keep everything focused in that way.
Love it. So Sarah's role,
in terms of Sarah, sorry, let me blow
that's cool.
Here.
Got to shout out the wife.
Yes. No, I mean, Sarah and I are 100% a team on this. We really collaborate on all aspects. So Sarah is, I always say, a much more natural artist than me. Like I consider myself more of kind of an inventor designer with artistic skills. Where Sarah is really like a pure artist. Like if she lived, back in the days of Da Vinci, she would be like, she just have canvas.
Fire.
So, but we do collaborate a lot of the stuff. Like, so we both do the artwork.
Nice.
Sarah tends to do more of the outdoor spaces, and I tend to do more of the indoor spaces.
Okay.
Sarah's better at natural art, like a lot of our gameplay is inspired by hikes and stuff we've done, and that feeling of being lost, but kind of like stumbling to find your way. And I think that natural kind of beauty and composition Sarah's a lot better at, so she takes on that stuff. I like a little bit more of the indoor things. I'm definitely much more of a nerd kind of geek than Sarah.
Okay. What about the character designs? What about, like, because I love the Torment character. You got the cloak, you got even the wife and child. Like, it kind of like, I was like, are they trying to play on their relationship with the wife and child thing?
I mean, definitely there's a little bit of that. Yeah.
Okay.
They're definitely a lot fiercer, and probably if we were in martial times, would be a better warrior than me.
It's the beefed up version of y'all. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, there is nothing we do in the game that isn't like, I mean, we're only two people too, right? So when you have a small crew, you really don't have a choice. But we also, we really play off each other. Like I'll often like start a concept, and then Sarah will like give me notes, and then I'll iterate, or Sarah will like work on an environment and be like, what about this kind of a feel of like, say, a forest, and then I'll give her feedback. So it definitely goes back and forth. I would say the one thing that is really good is that Sarah likes games, but she's not like a super hardcore gamer, right?
Gotcha. And
so she's able to look at game things and say, I don't know why. Like for her, a health bar is not like an obvious thing. Like she's like, I don't know why we need a health bar. Like why is that the way you have to do it, right?
Oh, okay, I got you.
Why do you have to, like, for example, like you could argue like, why don't we show like damage points when the guy gets hit, right? And, like to Sarah, that's not a thing that she cares about. She would never, like, that's not an obvious thing, right? It's only you're kind of indoctrinated in games to some of these like the way to do it, right?
You're thinking like that's supposed to be the way.
Really like challenge these things and think about them from a kind of creative artistic perspective without being bogged down by some of the conventions, which is good. And I think I tend to be a little bit more like I wake up pretty much every morning and say, hey, I had an idea. And then Sarah, will be like, okay. And she's good at like looking at an idea and saying like, that's baloney. Like, we don't need to do that. And I would say, like, relationship wise, I don't know if you've ever done anything with a significant other, but
that's what I was about to ask you.
It is like
that push pull. Let's get to it.
You work on something for like a whole day. And then, someone comes and says, I don't know, like,
trash. That's trash, Stephen. Send that back.
When you watch like I don't know, like I watch a lot of British Bake Off. I don't know if you guys watch that show, but like someone's trying to make like a horse or something, and the judge will come by and be like, "What is that? A seal?" And then like you can see them like just
deflated. Yeah,
that's kind of the thing, right? Like I'll be working on, I don't know, some attack animation, and Sarah will say something like, "I don't know, it looks like he's punching the guy or something." And I was like, "Oh, it's a sword." And that's just like the first couple times that happens, you're just like crushed, right? You really are.
Of course.
But you realize that you need that feedback, and it has to be unvarnished, and you have to get it from someone you respect.
Right. It's the level of honesty that you're working with each other that makes it better, because she has your best interest at heart. So she wants you to shine at your best. So when you're doing this, you understand I can respect her opinion of it, and maybe it does look stupid. Let me fix this part right here, because her honesty is coming through. So, and you trust each other. It's about trust.
100%. Yeah. Like I have to think back to like, George Lucas making the prequels. And at that point he was like a god, like everyone feared it. And I don't think anyone was willing to say, like, I don't know, George, like this idea is ridiculous. Right? On the first one, he had people that were like, would tell him honestly what they thought. And I think that is really, it makes a big difference.
Kojima syndrome.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do that today.
We have a topic later. No doubt, man. Shout out to Cat Daddy from Philly. They actually snuck away from IOP just to take a look at the trailer for.
It's a beautiful game, guys. I can't, like, when he said, and you can see it too. The collaboration between the two, the outdoors. What he said is her strength. Let her play to her strength, because he acknowledges that's not his strength, and it shows. Like, And then you go to the inside and you're like, wow, that looks it's equally as good as the outside because that's his strength. And he played to his strength. The animation, I can't wait. I really can't wait, to be honest with
Absolutely,
you.
man. So you got it. The realm is very hyped. They're doing their research. They're like, what is this game these guys are talking about? But I want to now transition now to what I call the magic moment. So let's bring it back, man. So it's
E3 2019.
E3 2019, brother. E3 2019. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, Microsoft had a huge presence, had a huge show. They were the only one there that year, you know what I'm saying, this year. But we saw at a little Vignette, you know what I'm saying? And there it was, Unto the End debuting on the Xbox press briefing stage. So I just wanted to ask you, Steve, like, how did it feel to get the call from Microsoft to be selected? Like, this is literally the Super Bowl of gaming, and your game is included in a Vignette on stage. You was like, tell me the vibes. What was the thought process at that point?
I mean, it's kind of surreal, right? Especially when you hear about it and you're like, okay, that like you get ready, kind of like mentally prepare, for like, okay, I'm gonna watch this thing on stage. You're very proud. As I said earlier, I think like making a game is an incredibly hard thing to do, and Sarah and I, really been working like crazy on this thing. So when you get acknowledgement from kind of an industry leader, you feel a degree of vindication, right? It is like also this weird roller coaster though, because the same thing kind of happened with getting just back from EGX. Like you go to these things or you have these moments and you feel amazing, right? You're like, wow, we've really accomplished this thing. But then you kind of come down and you're like, okay, we still have to finish this. So, up and down, it is draining mentally. But yeah, like getting the call from Microsoft was a huge, really, really validated like all of our hard work. I think.
Is it pressure now? Is it pressure now that you got the call, they recognize the greatness, but now it's like, yo, we really gotta deliver now. You filled them. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone backed the truck up now. Like, is it pressure now?
I think there's a bit of that, but I also think like Sarah and I put a ton of pressure on ourselves to make something we're extremely proud of. Like, I don't want to at the end of this thing be done and be like, I just made a game, I want to make a game that people really think like, I don't need everyone to love it. I don't think that's even possible, but I want to make a game where when people play it, it does feel like a really unique experience. And really Sarah and I feel like, we pushed it, as far as we could have. And so that kind of pressure comes from within. Seeing it on stage in the moment, and having like Keanu Reeves come out and then like having our little game part of like that was like surreal, man. That's like a moment where like I often think like if I went back and told like 15-year-old me like that's gonna happen, I would have said get out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah, there's no way, right?
You made it, bro.
Listen, LordCognito went absolute nuts.
Yeah, I think I like. Yeah,
I was sitting next to Cognito, and as soon as it came up in the trailer, I feel his hand on my arm, like yo, this is the game, and I'm
bro,
like,
I lost it, bro. I lost
because
this
is like you make a discovery. We go to these game shows, and we find games that we like. We talk amongst each other. Yo, what game you like the most? Well, I like this game over here. And what we like to do is drag each other to the game we like the most, right?
Yes, yep.
So we will drag each other to it, and we'll see a game, and we just hope the rest of the world can get a piece or get a glimpse of this game that maybe not too many people know about. So to see your game that he saw someplace else in his heart on the screen.
King, you nailed it. Because you know what it is?
That means a ton.
The way it is for me is like, when the Lords, we all go addicts, we go to these shows. And especially like a PAX or something like that. To me, that's I call like that's the grassroots. That's okay. You finish. You're now showing it off for the first time. So you have these little gems, and for me, it's like it's like sports. So it's like that was my little draft pick. They got the call. They got the call to the big leagues now. Like I'm oh, I remember them. That's my man. Because at the end of the day, it's like. Again, not to go too deep, but remember when, I told you I lost track of you guys. I remember when I first came across the game in 2017, I'm like, wow, this looks amazing, right? And then that's why I wanted to ask you about that period, because there was a kind of period you guys went dark for a little bit. Yep. And I didn't know what happened, and I'm like, okay. Then I seen the Big Sugar come in, and I'm like, okay, maybe they got picked up. And I'm like, okay. And then the bombshell. It's like, oh, this is Microsoft. This is now in Game Pass. This is like, yo, we out here now. So like, tell us that process, because again, there was a period where you went away. So I just wanted to know, what was going on during that process.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tougher time, I would say. Like, there was kind of two aspects of that. One, we originally signed with a publisher called Digerati.
Yes.
And Digerati then became Digital Uppercut.
Yes.
That I was actually part of. Like, it's not super well known, but I was actually part of that.
Wow.
Like, the reason I joined that, like, there was 4 guys, myself, a guy named Nick, Matt, and Christian. We started Digital Uppercut.
Oh, wow.
That was going to be kind of like like a sister label to the Digerati stuff.
Gotcha.
Right. And in the end was going to be one of the first games. There's a couple other games that were coming out for that. And so that there were some ups and downs with that. I think balancing, without getting into too much detail, because it probably legal trouble, but there was some challenges. And then also we had a developer working with us. So Sarah and I were able to focus on the art, and we had a developer working with us, and he was an ex Microsoft guy, had retired, and very smart guy, started tons of startup companies, and actually worked at Microsoft for a while. But I think we underestimated how important that feel for games is.
Yes.
Like he was a very talented programmer, but that feel for games was not something he was really passionate about. He didn't really have it.
Gotcha.
And so we ultimately had to part ways. And in doing that, we threw away about a year's worth of work.
Wow. That's what happened. Okay.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
like in that fall of when the heck was that? 2018 it must have been.
2018. I was scouring, man. I couldn't find you. I was like, where they at?
We basically had to make a decision. Like, okay, what are we going to do here, right? Like we didn't want to take his code forward because that can create all these IP issues down the road, if they're like social network or something. So it was like, okay, am I going to rewrite this whole game engine from scratch, or are we going to find someone else or whatever? So, I mean, I have a computer science background, but I'm not. Well, I mean, first to admit, I'm not the world's greatest programmer. I know really brilliant programmers. I'm not one of them.
Right.
But I'm competent enough with programming, and I have a lot of passion that I can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
So I decided to rewrite the engine myself, and so that.
And you stayed Unity. You stayed in Unity.
Yeah, I stayed in Unity and wrote the thing in C#, and that was about 8 months of work. And so then that kind of gets us to like on the path where we are now. But yeah, we had to do we had some of the art and a lot of the animations and kind of levels blocked out. But we had to do a pretty big reboot when that dev left. Yeah. And then the Big Sugar thing was Big Sugar decided, the guy who runs that decided to stop Digital Uppercut, start a new label. I don't really know what the reasoning for that was, but yeah, that it's still the same company the whole time, the same publisher. But it's been it's gone through some changes in terms of branding and vision and stuff like that.
Wow, that is tremendous, man. You got
that decision must have been extremely hard. Because you had all this work that was done, and to just delete and start from scratch, that must have been a serious conversation, going forward.
It was really tough. It's like, and it's there's a lot of, you see these graphs, right? Like making a game is like you start out and everything's great, then you go into this like dark valley of like no idea what you're doing, and then you kind of come out. And that was definitely like the darkest of valleys, where it was very much man, what are we doing? Like what, you also have to add on, like we sold our house, left our job.
Yeah.
We're living out of a suitcase at that time. Like we were in Chile, in South America. And we're like, what the hell are we doing? I have this theory that you can only take on as a human so many unknowns, right? So we like, we had no idea, like, what's our future going to be like? We had no idea where we're going to live. We were working on this project that didn't seem to have any future. And so I don't know why. I think to do something like that, you have to be a little bit nuts, I think.
This is passion, brother. This is determination.
Like optimism to a degree, but I guess we believed in it enough to try it. And then, I think it just started working, and the fact that I was writing it actually made it better, I thought, because it's whenever you work on something, whenever you defer an idea that is hard to explain to someone else.
Yes.
It'd be hard to make sure, like, if we were, say, trying to do, let's say we're trying to do like a Contra, like Contra, and make it like with a sword or something, right? It's easier for someone to wrap their head around. But if we're trying to make a game that doesn't really have an existing kind of model, it's harder for people to build off of and make right. So
of course,
it turned out to be the right decision for me to do all that programming. But if I never have to program again after this,
but listen, brother, you come full circle. Wow, let me tell you, man, that is really inspiring. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize how it got how low it got, and just to see you guys turn this thing around, take control of your vision, you know, and then again, like I said, to me, the magic moment, like I said, you getting
this is the ultimate love story. Yeah, I'm just sitting here like this is y'all was successful in your careers. You had to have to sit down and talk about, okay, let's ditch this career. Should we have a family, or should we try to just finish this one last accomplishment together? Y'all decided that together. Y'all went on this journey together. Y'all went into that valley together, and you came out of that valley together with these decisions together. And y'all are on this stage. You see your baby on this stage together. And I'm telling you that bond must be super incredible, because y'all went through trials and tribulations. You went from having it all to having nothing, to going back up that ladder to having it all. Yeah. And that is a beautiful, beautiful story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not everybody has the courage to pursue precisely what they want in life. It's difficult because, you know, when you have something that's safe, relatively safe, it's difficult to up and say, hey, no, I don't want safe. I want what I want.
Facts. Yeah. From a position.
Us as humans, we don't like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right. That's a belief in the dream. So I just want to now get into
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. I just want to say that.
We appreciate you for coming in and telling your story. This is amazing. I want to get into now the Game Pass dynamic. You know, and obviously, you know, you Captain Game Pass loves this.
Let me tell you.
Put your Game Pass emojis in the chat, yo.
Let me tell you, each and every one of these millions and millions of people are going to get a chance to play your baby, and this is it.
This is it. So let's get to the Game Pass. Shout out to Cat Daddy. I see the chat. I see the live chat with the emoji. So let's get into that, because obviously, you know, it was one thing to see the game ID at Xbox. You know, it's a great program, saluting the indie developers, getting some shine on the big. That's one thing. But now we're like, no, this is Game Pass as well, because you're also multi-plat. But then before you were multi-plat, you still are, correct? You're still multi-plat. Yes, that's right. Yep. But at this point, you go boom. Now it's in Game Pass on Xbox, most likely day and date, you know, on release. So tell us about that dynamic, and if you feel that helps you as a developer.
Yeah. So just to clarify, we're on all platforms. You know, all the consoles and Steam, and then day one on Xbox for sure. Like that'll be our first thing. The only thing we can't be on is if there was a like Sony has their own subscription-based service. We couldn't be also on that for a period of time.
Okay.
So the honestly, the Xbox thing was just amazing, man. Like we met those guys at Gamescom. We did a closed door kind of like press only.
Give me drop some names. Is Charlie in there? Come on now. You got to get that exclusive. I need the exclusive. You know, we're in the realm of the Lord. Let me not get you in trouble. But if you could drop a name, that would be appreciated. If not,
in terms of who we met with at Xbox?
Give me some Microsoft names. Bro.
No. Nick Zuklich is a great guy, and then Telsil also like from the marketing side. So those are the two guys we met. It was Sarah and I, and then one guy from our publisher that chatted with them.
Nice.
And it was a pretty surreal experience because they come in there. Gamescom was behind closed door. You're doing, you're meeting press, and you're telling about the game every 30 minutes, right? So it's like 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off, and this is going on for 3 days. And so you're losing your voice. You're trying to always come with the maximum amount of energy, but you're giving them the same
pitch. Yeah, your pitch.
And I never wanted to know who we were talking to, right? Like, because I didn't want to know. I didn't want to like, you know, I don't know, work really hard for like rock paper shotgun, but then like not give as much energy to someone that I didn't know, right? And also I didn't want to get too nervous when I was talking, right? So anyway, and they were like just so impressed with what we'd done. Like they looked beautiful. They were kind of like you guys, like they'd seen the 2017 stuff. They expected it to be kind of like an inside limbo, kind of maybe a little more story puzzle driven. So we opened up that demo with the combat, you know, with the mother and father sparring.
Yes, and love that one.
They were blown away. Like they really like were like, holy smokes! Like this is way more depth than we thought.
Yes.
they were kind of throwing all these accolades at us.
That's
and
right.
to have that happen from I think Xbox at ID is a fantastic program, and I think Xbox Arcade, which was popular on the 360,
Yes. Oh yeah.
the backbone of like that indie game, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So to have those guys like say, "Hey, this is really great," I think, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. Really, it really like helped Sarah and I feel like, wow, what we're doing is worthwhile, and all those risks. It was very emotional, to be honest. Like, because you do something different. You get people who are like, I don't know, that's ridiculous. Like, no one's why don't you just do this other thing and it's easier and blah blah. And some of the people that are telling you that are pretty close to you. It's not like
that's your man. That's your bro.
Off the street telling you like your idea isn't working. Like sometimes like it's like people that you respect are telling you like this might not work.
Wow.
And so when someone like Xbox comes along and says, "Hey, we believe in this," they actually had one thing where they're like, "Why do you want to be famous?" The guy asked me. He's like, "Do you want to be famous?" And I was like, I said no. I was like, no, that's not of interest to me. And then our publisher guy was like, yes. And I mean,
of course he wants to be famous.
And that was kind of an interesting moment.
That's hilarious.
I felt like the right answer, and it was truthful. That's not my goal to be like famous,
but you want your game to be remembered.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if we can make something and people say like, wow, UntoTheEnd, like that was an experience that really stood out for me, among other experiences, or that really challenged kind of my perception of what a 2D game could be, or whatever. Like, to me, the beautiful thing about games is they can give you these experiences that last with you for a lifetime.
Facts.
And I think that those don't come along that often, really.
Facts.
So if I would be lucky enough to like make a game like that would be amazing.
It's immortality.
Yeah, in a way, it is. Yeah.
Yes,
forever,
because
bro.
when you make this staple, it's a staple. When you make it and your game reverberates in this community, because children are being born every day, right? And they're going to play games. Games are going to be played into the end of time. And when your game is mentioned in the name of Maomato and these icons, these pillars, and they mention you in your game, you want to be immortalized. Famous? No.
Facts.
Right. Immortalized,
Facts.
yes.
You don't want to be forgotten, man. So I just wanted to touch back into the Game Pass portion. Like, how do you feel? Do you feel that helps you as a developer?
Yeah, absolutely. So that comes with the boost of confidence. It actually comes with a little. Every deal is different, and I don't know how much legally I can say about this stuff, but they do promise you. So there's different models that get kicked around, right? Just to give you guys context. So like the Apple Arcade model, what you might have heard is you get a promised amount of money for your game, which I guess is based on some economist inside of Apple decides how much they think your game will make, and then nears it into like a lump sum.
Okay.
And then Apple is also rumored to have a kind of a trickle pay for the hours you play the game.
Oh, okay.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know any insight. From our experience with Xbox, they promise you a lump sum of money on release of the game.
Gotcha.
And then we can also sell the game on their standard Xbox store. But if you're on Pass, you get it for free.
Gotcha.
So for us, it allowed us to, no matter I don't think unless you're one of these really, really pure artists that's willing to like live on the streets for their art kind of thing. I think you need to make some money to make
it gave you security.
Right? Exactly, right? When Xbox says, hey, we're going to give you this lump sum of money, it allowed us, Sarah and I, you never have a conversation anymore about like, well, will that be attractive to players from a financial perspective? Like, actually, the health bar thing is one thing, right? Will that be too polarizing to people? Will it turn off so many people that they won't buy the game, right? But when Xbox gives you that back and you're like, no, we're going to do this, not just to be reckless, but because we believe in it artistically and creatively. Xbox gives you the confidence, that little boost of confidence to like make those kind of decisions. And also, like as King was saying, like this thought that like people are going to be able to come to Game Pass and then try out the game with zero barrier to entry. Like that's an amazing opportunity for husband and wife testing.
You get people that went into Game Pass for years and they still got it, and they're looking on the series like, what's this new game? And they try it out.
Sharing that real estate on the UI, again, with these other bigger games and AAA, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's value to that. And I'm glad you said what you said, because there's a lot of misconception right now about Game Pass, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's hurting the developers. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad you said what you said, because people think that like it's some giving away of of a game, and it's not. It's for you based on what you're saying. Obviously, there is a financial responsibility that is promised to you upon release, and then obviously, having this game that might not have been seen. I mean, we know you're multi-plat, right? We know you're on PS4, you know you're on Switch, you know you're on Steam, and all that stuff. But again, it's fighting for real estate on those platforms.
And the good thing is, just because you're on Game Pass doesn't mean that, I have my friend John that has a PlayStation come over and he sees me playing your game and he only got a PlayStation or PC. So now he got to go home and buy it.
No, but what I like the most is the fact that, because there's a lot of controversy, as LordCognito was saying, about Game Pass in general. And the fact that you said, no, the bag is there. That gave me security, brother. That in itself allows the decision making going forward a little bit more easier.
Facts.
And then because I'm pretty sure I do this every week, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that does this. I pick one game on the new releases that I'm going to check out, and I'm going to report about it, good, bad, or indifferent. Right. But something I'm curious about that I don't have, because we're in economic times where hard-earned cash is not easy to come by, or you're balancing multiple things. Or let's say this holiday season, you don't have enough money for gifts or whatever you choosing to do, but and your game is going to have to take a back seat, and you're waiting for your income tax to come up. I said, that's the fun bucks. When the fun bucks show up, you're able to purchase 2 or 3 games, or you're looking for holiday specials like Black Friday or something like that. This Game Pass alleviates that stress going forward, because you're able to try things normally financially you aren't viable and able to do.
Right.
And I'm so happy that when it was like Game Pass, I said it's in there. More people will get a chance to see and talk about your game.
Facts. That's why I said
and this is not available if this program is not in place.
Right. So again, just for clarity, because again, there's a lot of misconceptions, Lord Stephen. Like, a lot of people really feel, I shouldn't say a lot, but a lot of uninformed people, are making assumptions that Game Pass is hurting you guys, right? That there's no way that this can help the developers, and it's just an assembly line of non-quality games being forced out. All right. So for the record, can you say that Game Pass is helping Until the End?
100%. I mean, undoubtedly, Sarah and I would be in a different mental state and kind of planning differently if Game Pass wasn't around. I think there's definitely always misconception. I think the fear. I was actually on a panel at EGX talking about this exact topic, talking about subscription-based services and is it going to wreck games, quote unquote. And I think that for the moment, it's excellent. I don't want to put a downer on things.
No, just being realistic.
Unfortunately, it could go. I don't think it will, but it could go the way of iTunes and kind of what Spotify has done to the music industry. Which when someone releases I don't know much about the music industry. My understanding is if you release an album as an artist, you get micro cents for every time that the song is played on something like Spotify, and so that is out a lot of kind of independent artists can't make any money.
Right.
The alternative is the Netflix model, which is that Netflix goes out and curates, directors and creators that are doing interesting things and brings them into the Netflix fold. Whereas before, they would have had to go the old kind of Hollywood route, which is like get one of the big studios to make a movie, do it entirely on their own. So I think if and it seems to be that if Xbox and these other subscription services, Apple Arcade, maintaining kind of the Netflix route, then we'll be okay. And I think the reason I feel like we will be okay is that creativity is something that is hard still to bottle up and write like a rule book for, both in terms of what other creatives thinks is interesting, but also fans, people that don't consume content versus create it. And so you kind of are left with having to go with the Netflix model, I think, for games, because it's so hard to predict what the next big hit would be, right?
Yes.
One of my favorite games of all time and most big inspiration to me is Dark Souls. Nice. Which when Dark Souls 1 came out, Demon Souls as well, that really bucked the trend of where AAA games were going, right? And everyone no one's going to play a game that is really obtuse, that doesn't hold your hand.
Good point.
And I don't, I think without, curating a catalog that takes having risks,
Mm-hmm.
you're ultimately going to lose a lot of,
Good point.
It kind of like will balance itself out. So I think it's an excellent thing for games. Definitely as developers for Sarah and I, it's been amazing. The Xbox guys are just fantastic to work with. They help both financially, but also with, in terms of marketing and stuff like that, like getting us on stage as exposure. Sarah and I could never get on our own. So yeah, it's really been amazing. I can't say enough good things about
the magic moment. That's what I call it, man. Like I said, the little guy, he's got his shine, and you made some valid points because again, the way game design is going and the way these games are getting more expensive, it's harder and harder for I feel for publishers to take risks with these games. Sometimes people kind of fall in those lines of if this is working, this is the new trend, whether it's looter shooter, whether it's battle royale, whatever it is, right? So like you said, sometimes these smaller obtuse games, they may look at you guys like, hey, that's a risk. But then you look at a service like a Game Pass, whatever, and it's in this catalog, right? This whole curated catalog. So again, you may have the guy who's coming in there just specifically for the battle royale, for the FPS, for the looter shooter, and then it's like, oh, what's this? What's this UntoTheEnd thing? And because I'm subscribed, it's like it's free, so to speak, right? So it's like, oh, all right, and you're sharing real estate with these other bigger giant games, and it's like, yo, look at this game, and then all of a sudden now more people discover it as opposed to it not being in a service like that.
Yep.
I think there is advantages to that, man. And again, I just wanted to salute you guys because again, I know how I felt when I saw you guys on that damn stage and I saw the game. Even if it was 2 seconds, I was the loudest person in the Microsoft Theater in Cali. And then we emailed and you're like,
I tried to pull that. I don't know, man. I don't know why he's acting up.
I was like, that's my guy. I was like, there we go. You know what I'm saying? So, and then
I had to look around, make sure no one's looking at us.
Yeah, I was definitely out of control. I was yelling. I was a little ridiculous, but I had to say, like, it was cool because we spoke after, and you're like, this is what I couldn't tell you. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, this is the big secret. So, salute to Two-Ton, man. This is really cool. Love what I'm hearing from that. And obviously, last question in reference to Unto, as far as, the famous my motto saying, game, finish game. We don't want it to be rushed. You know what I'm saying? But we do want it. So, where we are now with development and then kind of like where your ETA as far as release, what you're thinking about.
Yeah, we think summertime, it seems realistic. Sarah and we had a really good EGX.
Summer of Arcade.
What's that?
Summer of Arcade part.
Yeah. We had a really good EGX. That was our first time showing it publicly. We had a lot of people play it. Feedback was really strong from that. So we don't feel like we have a lot of things to adjust and tune. I think when you're making a game, sometimes you have to pivot, and that can slow down, development. So now it's just about finishing things. We have all the systems are done, all the mechanics are built out. It's just about bringing up the art to kind of the level of quality that we want. But we feel summer is realistic. A little bit will depend on. Basically, we have our publisher will take the game, which we will build for PC in Unity.
Right.
And they will do a port for the different platforms Switch and PlayStation.
Right.
Xbox should be pretty easy to do.
Yes.
Switch is harder. Switch is harder because just from a technical perspective,
fix your mouth. There will be no Switch slander in here. Let the man talk. Switch gang is coming for y'all. PlayStation is coming for y'all.
Hold on, Steve. Can you do me a favor and repeat that sentence, please?
Oh my God! Here we go.
Switch is a little bit difficult.
Hold on.
Slander.
No.
See this hardware slander I'm dealing with, Steven?
What platform's harder?
He didn't say hard. It's just difficult.
One challenge.
Continue.
This is
you
gold.
say the
This is
Nintendo
absolute
Switch is the hardest?
gold.
Listen, tell them that it's coming to one of the most vibrant platforms for indie. That's how you answer.
But harder. That's all that matters. The harder.
It's difficult. I mean, Switch just want to be difficult.
Continue, Lord Stephen, on the Switch side of things.
Lord Stephen, just to let you know, we just rubbing Cognito and Lord Sovereign in the wrong way right now because they are heavy Switch fans. We are all Switch fans. We all have Switches, but we just like to rub them the wrong way.
Basically, me and Solve get port shamed Anytime
Right,
the title
right.
is multi-player comes to the Switch and there's any type of graphical fidelity issues, we always get clowned. But continue, sir.
No, it is a technical challenge.
See, come on, Steve. You're not supposed to give them that.
Fanning the fire.
Fanning the fire.
This is awesome. This is gold, baby.
Oh
this is
my
gold.
God. Continue.
I can break it down if you want, but like, yeah, it is. It'll require some extra work.
Yes. we gotta hold this L, so we gotta hold this L.
Yeah,
we gotta hold this L. He can't lie. He's telling us the truth.
This is the best. This is the best right here.
Disney says they love claymation.
Oh man.
You know what they
Wow.
might have to do? You might have to cut the real estate to 16:9.
Oh my God. We shall hopefully we will
Awesome.
match performance when the Digital Foundry side by sides come out. Then
Oh yeah, I'm
hopefully-
sure we will.
Yes.
Hopefully the Unity will hold.
But
up.
I guess where I'm going to be playing in my Game Pass, sir.
That is
Day and
true.
date.
Now, I will
cannot
say
wait.
this: it is definitely more attractive for me in Game Pass. But like I said, for people who don't have Xbox, just the fact that you are making it available for multi-platform, the PlayStation Nation, the Switch game,
That's awesome.
they can at least have to get to it. So shout out to Boss Move. Switch development needs some tender loving. Shut up, Boss. Anyway, moving along. Final question that we ask all our guests.
Oh, here we go.
This is the one, the only. I need from Lord Stephen his top video games or franchises of all times. Top 5.
Cool. So I saw your other podcast, so I knew this was coming.
Cheating!
I thought about this a little bit. I thought about it in two ways. One, like there's games I like for nostalgia, and then there's games that are kind of current. So like I don't know if it's useful to kind of break it across that, but
Okay.
In terms of like games that really impacted me, the kind of nostalgically, a game called Zillion. I don't know if you guys ever. played it.
Oh,
God!
you are the greatest guest
my
ever.
No
Yo,
one has
no one's
ever
ever said
said Zillion
Zillion.
here.
Oh my
Now,
God.
please,
yes.
please,
There's a
wait,
reason
please,
for that.
please, shut up, Attic. You're young. You don't understand these things.
You don't
Here's the
understand it
thing.
at all.
You know, yeah.
Zillion.
so-
Now, please, we are talking Zillion 1.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh God, there's multiple of these.
Shut up, Attic. Don't let the young boy distract you from this greatness.
Yeah, Zillion 1 I think is brilliant. I actually played Zillion 2 as well. I don't know if you guys ever played Zillion 2, but there's like the end scene there. I remember like I was playing.
Name was Zillion.
I have
The
it.
guys across the street were there, and my brother. We were all like, I was trying to clear it. I actually kicked them out of the room. It was so like intense,
Yes.
so I could get that thing, and then like called them back in when I like beat that game. But Zillion 1, I think. I mean, I guess Zillion 1 now I kind of understand was like the Sega's answer for like kind of Metroid, I guess.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the thing that made Zillion 1 brilliant was
Let's
that little
talk about
puzzle system they
The
had.
puzzle system. Were you writing down all 4 of the
Yeah,
characters?
we had
you
all
drew?
of
It's
them.
like, bro, my-
Yes.
On
Let's go.
W and like this, like that was like a memory game at that time in a like a kind of a side scroller kind of action game. I thought it was really cool. I thought all like the little characters were cool. Like
Yeah.
they actually game design wise did some brilliant things. Like they would tease you with like seeing like kind of the carbonite version of like Champ or
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
and then you have to like, go around the world together.
Yes.
Like that was super cool. I thought I still replay that game from time to time, like on emulators and stuff. So
yes, I even remember the theme song right now, bro.
Oh,
You
yeah,
taking me
man.
back.
And I remember when I got that game, my dad actually bought that game for me, and my brother. He went to like a computer store, and he brought it home because he thought it looked cool.
Yes.
And then we played it, and that kind of made it extra special too. Like kind of having him, because he's not into games, and so having him like it, that kind of made it extra.
That's awesome.
My man. So that's one. We got Zillion, the legendary Zillion.
Like I would, so like a less nostalgic one, the more like a current one, I have to throw like Dark Souls in there.
Of course.
Because really, it kind of like for me, I guess that along with kind of the resurgence of indie games, like kind of the indie game, the movie kind of thing, made it seem like, hey, I could make a game. Like some of the things I like about games are still liked by people, and I could go make a game. And maybe that's weird when you look at like a Dark Souls because it's such a massive game, but it kind of did things that I really appreciated about games, like the no hand holding, the challenging gameplay, and it kind of made me, it kind of revitalized my passion for games. So that's definitely in there.
Awesome.
Nice. Zillion, Dark
Another
Souls.
game I really loved was Faster Than Light. I don't know if you guys played that at all.
I've never
That's an indie game. It's what I liked about it was it's a roguelite. You're manning a ship. And you have a crew, and you come across these battles, and the battles kind of happen in real time, but you can pause them. And it's about building up your ship and managing your crew and things like that, and getting them to assign different things. But the thing I loved about that game is that one, it told a story through these moments. Like you're moving through this galaxy and you're kind of piecing together these story elements, and it's kind of feeding you that incrementally. And every time you play, it's almost like a different story.
I'm looking at it right now. It looks incredible.
Two, there's no hand holding at all. Like the first time your ship catches on fire, you're like, and everything falls apart and it explodes. But then you kind of learn a little bit from that. So the next time it happens, you figure out there's like a way to deal with it. And so there's all these like little emergent things you can do to deal with guys who board your ship, like fire, like running out of shields. And so you have this really great sense of accomplishment as you like go through the game.
This thing has got a 5 out of 5 from Fangamer, 89% on PC Gamer, and 10 out of 10 on Steam.
It's a brilliant game. They also did same guy did Into the Breach. I don't know if you guys have played that.
Yes.
Oh yes, love Into the Breach.
I played that. Yes.
Who's the designer on this? What's this? Faster Light?
That's a rough game.
Faster Light.
FTL.
Yeah, FTL is how it's known.
The developer is Subset Games. The composer is Ben Puntry.
That's great music too. Like
it's a
chill,
strategy, a roguelike game. It looks phenomenal.
Yeah, it's got a steep learning curve. I found it, but once you get into it, I think it's very, very well designed. So that's definitely up there for me. I'm a huge Zelda fan, so like for me, A Link to the Past really stands out. I think the beginning of that game, where like the father tells you to stay at home, and it's entirely on you to leave. I just think it's like masterful game design, because it makes me as the player like fully in control of my destiny, and I have to break through that barrier. I think that's like one of my all-time favorite games.
No doubt. One more.
What's funny is that kind of carried over throughout the generations, because
yes,
in certain games like Far Cry 4, he tells you to stay in that room while he goes and gets your mother's ashes, and if you stay there, he literally brings in your mother's ashes and the game ends.
Wow.
Shout out to Stitch6669 for joining the realm. We do appreciate you, brother, and we have a ton of stuff coming through. Some videos will be up this week for all members of the realm that hit that join button.
Yes.
And those videos will only be afforded to you guys.
Salute.
You're gonna have some fun with those videos.
Yeah, man. Salute. Use those emojis, man. We got some fun things going on, man. So that's what's okay. So what's the final one? You said it.
I have a long list of games. I'm going to throw one out that's probably maybe controversial, but so I think Below, a game by Cappy. I don't know if you guys played it.
We just played it.
You got Below up in legendary status.
Yeah, I think that to me, like Miyamoto had this idea. He always talks about like
smooth rage of that. He rage quit that.
It
was pretty bad too.
Yeah. Oh, it's a very demanding game. But the thing I think the reason I love it is I think one, they took a hell of a lot of risks, and I have to applaud like an indie developer for doing that. Even though Cappy has had success with Sword and Sorcery and stuff like that, and over time, but I think they took a lot of risks, so I applaud that. But for me, Miyamoto had this vision with Zelda of like he would talk about he would go into these caves and in the forest as a kid, and he would explore those, and that sense of like not knowing whether to go left or right, or feeling alone and kind of overwhelmed. I think Below did a better job of that for me than any other game, where it really throws you into this feeling of a lone adventure on an island. You have to figure out how to survive. You have to figure out weapons to use, how enemies work, how to assemble this like lantern. Like it really doesn't hold your hand at all, and it's definitely not a perfect game. I think they did make some mistakes design-wise, but for me, that feel, that experience they were able to capture is, I don't know if you guys have played through it, but there's moments near the end where you're fighting this one creature, and it is like some of the most intense, demanding game. My hands are like sweating, and that's pretty rare to create in a game. And although it's definitely very punishing.
Yes.
That fear of loss when you die and you got to go find your book
find
bag.
your body. Yeah. Shout out to Cappy. Shout out to Cappy.
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Finish.
Yeah, I think for me that was really a magical experience, and just it's why I love games. For those experiences, you just can't get anywhere. You can't get that in a movie. You can't get that in a book. Like that's really a game experience. So yeah.
Absolutely tremendous top 5. Yeah, I got a chance to go behind the scenes with Cappy, closed door, but right before release, maybe E3, I mean PAX last year, and I definitely saw. I was like, wow, this thing looks challenging, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I loved it. It kind of. You gotta share some similarities, not in terms of, I felt like in terms of ambiance, you know what I'm saying? Certain things.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of happened organically. But I think that what they realized, and Sarah and I realized, is that everyone, for the most part, is scared of the dark.
Yes.
In some way. You're all scared of the dark. Sarah and I were in Hawaii, and we were going through this lava tube. I don't know if you've ever been in real pure darkness, but we're going through this lava tube, and there's kind of the tour area where there's lighting, and then there's like this area they have like it's guarded off. They're like, go in if you want, but this is the end of the tour. Right. So Sarah and I went in.
And this is where the king goes home.
This is where the liability starts. You just and at your own risk.
We have these flashlights, and you're going through, and it's amazing how crappy flashlights are in pure darkness. Like they don't go anywhere, and they actually make everything scarier.
They bought you those dollar store flashlights.
Exactly, right? And
they even buy you good flashlights to go in that with.
So that feeling of like darkness and being alone is something we definitely like latched onto, and I think Blow does a really good job of that. I also feel a little defensive because I think Chris Petrovsky and the Cappy team took a huge number of risks, and a lot of the feedback I saw on Steam forums were like, this game is poorly designed, these guys don't respect your time. And I thought the exact opposite. I think these guys like poured their heart and soul into this game from a design perspective and a feel perspective, and I just thought it was a shame that people hated on it so much. I didn't think it was justified. I thought it should really be celebrated as a bold attempt at doing something different with kind of that top-down kind of Zelda kind of feel. So I think it's
I do say this though. I saw the game. I was intrigued by the game, but what allowed me to actually touch and play the game and download it date was the fact that it was in Game Pass. So it took away those inhibitions from me and the trepidation in purchasing, because I was able to partake, without the fear of loss. And when I played the game, I said, wow, this is something I need in my staple. And I see it leaving Game Pass now. And it should be leaving, I think, at the end of this month. But I'm going to, purchase the game because that's one of the games that I want as, one of my staples of games that you show, like your son or your daughter or whatever. Like, this is what a real hard, serious game that doesn't hold your hands is about. So
absolutely.
I like that game.
Absolutely. Yo, tremendous 5. Love the history. Listen, you already won. Once you said Zillion, me and you best friends for life. Like that is like my game. I remember playing that game.
Can I get some in the bushes for that?
No,
game?
there will be no in the bushes. You
really
gonna put the bend the knee.
In the bushes
put
for that
bend
game.
the knee icon.
We don't need no bend the knee. We need in the bushes.
Zillion is
legendary.
Champ, Apple, all that good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah,
amazing.
There you go. There's guys. He's got my back.
Those are the uneducated. Don't pay those fools. The minority anymore. But no, I do remember that joint, and that was definitely a classic, man. And again, salute to Lord Stephen coming through with Unto the End news. Hopefully 2020 summer, hopefully ish. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what we're looking at.
Look like my kind.
He's trying to peg you down.
I'm trying to get that exclusive. Fire up,
we want to get it out there for sure, and we want everyone to enjoy it, and but we do want to make it something we're very proud of. So, but 2020 summer seems very, very doable. So
sounds good, man. Tremendous gaming history, tremendous
title.
title.
I really appreciate chatting. It's been a really fun time. Hopefully, we can do it again.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, if you got to go, we know that we got a little bit more show. But if you want to hang out, you can have more too. So it's totally up to you.
Yeah, things about to go left though. So.
I gotta. Just can I take a quick break? Go to watch and then I'll hang out.
We will continue running our mouths. You come right back. No doubt. Last week's poll results are in, and the people have spoken to the question. With the majority of the major software releases now having shipped in 2019, what is your current choice for Game of the Year? The winner of a very divisive 4-way ILP poll at 44% is Gears 5 Group. Coming in at second place at 23% was BB Move That Dope. Death Stranding. BB Move That Dope. Coming in at a razor close third place at 21%.
Well, that's something to do. Razor close.
Razor close. Second. And sadly, in last place, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Only 12% of the vote.
Bushes.
Shout out to
the bushes for Fire Emblem.
Shout out to all the lords. You know what I'm saying? Vagabundo, you got to get Sarah and Stephen back on the podcast just after Until. Of course, yes, we would definitely get the Lord back. So that was the poll results. Lord Sovereign, what are you feeling about this, man?
I think Sekiro should be one. Thank you very much.
No doubt.
You see how award shows go, guys? Your favorite just doesn't get picked all the time.
For sure.
You know?
For
Shout
sure.
out
I
to
mean,
Fire
somebody's
Emblem
10.
in the bushes.
Somebody's 10 and somebody's 6, guaranteed.
That's you know what, Sovereign? And that is my rage against this machine. It is forcing these fools to run out there and buy these. I gotta be in the moment. Let me buy this game. No, man, go dig in the bins and go get last year's game of the year that you didn't even play yet. You know, you're just trying to be current.
I don't even see my backlog as a backlog anymore. It's just my collection. That's all.
Yeah, you're becoming like game collectors and stuff.
He's the collector.
All I have. Exactly. That was the poll. We get a new poll at the end of the show. So we're gonna start off real quick with a hot off the presses first.
Let's get it.
Yeah, some leakage might be happening. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Twitter user PS Erebus, who has some history of leaking things on the PlayStation side. He actually correctly leaked the initial Last of Us.
Duct tape that man.
He correctly leaked the initial date that got changed.
But he was right. He was on point.
He was right about it.
Before they delayed, he was right. So shout out to PS Erebus. And yeah, man, so pretty much the leak, the rumor is that PlayStation 5 could release November, you know what I'm saying, with a price of $499 in the US. The speculative date is November 20th, 2020.
All these dudes that was looking for 300, you in the bushes.
So that is, again, this is leak, rumor, nothing confirmed. We're just going to talk about it. It's hot off the press. So I want to bring this to the Lords. You know, what do we think about this? I'm going to start off Lord Attic first, man. Like, what do you think about if this is true? PlayStation 5.
Someone give Captain Obvious an award, man.
Yeah.
November? Oh, like that's not a huge stretch. November 20th? Oh, that's not a huge stretch.
I haven't posted in a while. What can I put up?
$400? Oh, that's not a huge stretch.
500, sir.
500, sir. 500.
That penny.
I mean,
these pocket watches is out here at that penny.
I would say all those are fair. And if he would have said like March the 20th for $600,
okay. I got you. So
then I would be like, okay, you know, he might know something.
God, so
but
your thing is like, don't serenade. This is
that's like me saying Call of Duty's coming out November 10th.
All right, I got you.
Guess what, Lord King David?
Go ahead.
Guess what? Call of Duty's coming out November the 10th. It came out November last year, and the year before that, and the year before that.
Actually, last year they pushed it. Remember, they were afraid of Red Dead. I think it was Red Dead. They got
Red Dead came out.
Red Dead made them knees clack.
Yeah, definitely. So all right, so we got that. Lord Stephen, I see he has returned. Again, some leakage going on with PlayStation 5 release date, possibly being November 20th, $500 price point. You know, what do you think? Do you think this could be accurate? With it's kind of in the ballpark, or you think this might be way off?
You know, I don't know. To be honest, when I'm working on our game, I like have such a backlog of video games, like in terms of like things I got to play. I'm so out of the loop in terms of like consoles and stuff like that. If you told me it came out November 30th, November, I'd be like, yep, okay, great.
That's right. You're PC master race. That's right.
Head down.
I don't care about that.
No, it's not that. I mean, it's important. I think it's actually interesting for like Sarah and I releasing next year, and there's rumors like the next Xbox console will come out. And, it's interesting when a new console comes out, like it gets a lot of hype, and there's of course big excitement around it. What will happen? Like selfishly, what will happen with the PS4 games? Like that move up. And
Lord,
what happens with the Xbox? One game to the next one and stuff.
Lord King, what's gonna happen with the PS4
Lord,
game?
don't start this.
Well,
Don't start this.
not to start a controversy, but they got a system to play your PlayStation 4 game.
Not a fan of backward compatibility with PS5.
Xbox though.
For $4.99, you swipe that card, you can play this PS4 game.
Listen, no, that's the $5.99 edition.
Oh my Lord! Out of control. Don't start this up right now. So is it in the realm? You feel this might be in the realm of possibility, Lord Stephen?
I mean, it's for me, I'm not nearly as up to date as you guys are with these things, so it's definitely possible. I mean, for Sony to go out early like that, earlier than Xbox, I guess I guess it's possible that they definitely don't want to do it at the same time as Microsoft. So they kind of got to make a decision business wise. Do we want to delay until after Xbox comes out, which would put it to next November? They want to kind of get out ahead of it for Christmas season and kind of trying to beat them to the punch. So I guess from that perspective,
as cocky as Sony's getting here lately, I wouldn't be surprised if they put out the same day Xbox.
I don't think so, brother. But when it's my turn, I'm gonna burn.
All right, so let's get Saul in, man. Saul, what do you think, man?
I mean, I think, like Alex said, everything about the time frame and the price.
It's like the most safe prediction.
It is super safe. I don't think they can. I don't think they can't get away with $399 for this console. It's just too much in both of these consoles. I don't think so. What's interesting is the date, right? Because 20th, when you look at last console launch, they launched on the 15th, I believe it was, and the Xbox launched on the 22nd a week later.
Yes.
By this launching on the 20th, I doubt very much Xbox would launch the week of Thanksgiving. Right. So that puts Xbox probably launching before, if this release date is correct. So, I mean, I think it matters.
They can throw a curveball and launch in October.
They could even do that.
There's a lot of history with November, though.
There's history. There's a history in November and the 22nd of November.
I think especially with Sony going at the end of November, people might change up. There's a history. There wasn't a history in releasing in March until Nintendo did it.
I think it could be said that after the launch of Xbox One, they can break tradition and go left and start a new tradition.
Like, we don't even want to launch it the same month as that comes.
Shout out to Stitch with the $5 super chat. How does a poop throwing and walking simulator manage to be in the Game of the Year category? We will get to the Game of the Year topic next.
I have food coming to me because I have to be plenty energized for that topic.
Yes. So continue, so.
But I would say again, November 22nd is a big date for Xbox usually. But if this date is true, that would put Xbox's launch if they continue that 22nd trend,
it had to be
launched the following Monday, which is like I said, the week of Thanksgiving. Right. Which I don't know that it makes a lot of sense. So if this is true, I see Xbox launching a week before.
Got you. All right, fair enough.
And plus, they're going to want to launch way before Thanksgiving because they're going to want to properly market before Black Friday. So
Exactly.
Lord King, your feelings, PlayStation 5.
Hold up, let's hear this.
Here we go.
Yeah, your heartbeat sounds
Let's see
like
how he spins
Sasquatch feet.
Oh, man.
Cracking the concrete.
We getting the Biggie reference too? I shot you.
New school need to learn though. Burn, baby, burn like disco inferno.
Look at that.
Let's go.
Listen, what y'all don't understand is your man's is acting out of character. Maybe it's because the new people on deck don't know how it really go.
So you say they're bending the knee?
No, what it is they showing they slip. You see under their skirt. They're not supposed to be talking like this. Usually, the people that are leaking is Microsoft. But see, this is what happens when a boss is in place. A boss is in place, and they know their cadence now. He told you the cadence. When you saw EXO 19, the cadence was, we're going to keep showing you every show. You're going to get bangers as we go forward. You're going to get new games going forward. They're pushing ID at Xbox, they're pushing Game Pass, they're pushing their service, and that system is coming next year. They're going to tell you when the system is coming. You're not going to find out in a leak. You're not going to find out in... Listen, y'all leaking all over the place. You're losing people.
Wait.
Leaking. I don't like this. No, this is very troublesome.
It's troublesome now. Now we're in the troublesome stage.
See, listen, they're trying to. You see how
that's the random dude leaking something on Twitter. Is it
the trouble?
You say he's a random dude, but this dude has been right a lot.
That is true.
All right, so let's not discredit this our new form of journalism. Let's not discredit him because he's been right. So you can't say that some random dude when he's been right. So it's not like his words hasn't been spoken, it hasn't been felt.
Right.
All right. So he came out with the proper date for The Last of Us 2, and it got moved. You know, so
we
old
got a
boy was
super
right.
chat,
Oh,
and
Brad with
that's
the
for
$2
you,
super chat.
King.
Yeah.
That's for you.
He said, same guy leaked Scarlet at $500. That's what
Yeah,
the same
so
leaker.
same guys leaked Scarlet at $500. I don't think his stuff is factual. This is the
but
reason
he's
why-
factual this time for
This is the
PlayStation.
reason why I don't think that part is factual, because I also believe that this leak was encouraged.
Okay.
Because I see the PlayStation fan base like, see, told you it's not going to be 600. They feel comfortable with the 500. That's nice. You feel comfortable with the 500, but y'all was complaining when the X came out and it was 500. Right?
Which did well.
They did fantastic. Listen, we're going to pay a premium price for these new systems going forward. That's nothing new. That's something that we understand. And we also know it's going to come in the fall. So stop acting like you guys think this is some new stuff. Attic is on to something when he's telling you that Captain Obvious needs an award. Because this is stuff that doesn't need to be said. But for some reason, it's being leaked from these individuals. Now, y'all want y'all to keep the same energy, because if Nintendo was leaking something, y'all be like, oh, something's wrong with Nintendo. If Microsoft is always, every show they leak, not one leak came out at Expo.
In the past, they've had problems with leaks.
They have terrible
They've
problems.
had entire shows get leaked.
Yeah, they've had entire shows that leak.
And we was spoiled. It got spoiled for us going forward. This EXO, there was not a drop of spoilage. And I believe
we like leakage.
I believe going forward that from the top down, when you see a uniformity, you see somebody on your team, that means the personal gain is not necessary to leak out information, because they're moving as one in the unit. It looks like your unit is not moving together, and you got guys moving out of factions all over the place. The unified mind wins. You guys do not look unified, and this situation is getting very spooky. And I want to know when the red flags is going to start going up from you guys.
What do you guys think of the potential that Gran Turismo 7 is a launch game? That's another thing with that.
That's not.
Can I get some in the bushes for Gran Turismo 7?
Yeah, that's not.
I can't disrespect that. That game has.
Can I get some in the bushes?
It's not launching with no Gran Turismo.
We'll see. We'll see. At the end of the day, I'll jump in real quick before we move on. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm with Addict. It is a little bit of a Captain Obvious month kind of a deal. But, specific date, we'll see. 500 seems about on point. They probably take the hit on hardware. This thing seems to be a beast, ray tracing. We know what the Zen processor, we see the architecture that's supposed to be rumored in this thing, SSDs and all type of stuff. So, this is definitely premium architecture. It seems on point. I guess the question for me will be, how does Scarlet counter-react? We've heard, they are in kind of similar architectures, but at the same time, there's some supposed secret sauce that AMD and Microsoft was working with. And then the other thing comes down to, besides that, the rumor of the Lockhart, because we did hear that there was an initial double SKU approach that Microsoft might attempt with the Anaconda and the Lockhart. So it would be interesting if they combat them and say, okay, hey, we have our premium console at 500 to match, but at a lower entry point, we have a 300 or whatever price point lower to get people in the ecosystem, and then maybe, I don't know if they bundling Game Pass.
So we have a super chat real quick. We have a super chat.
Get a super chat.
We got a $5 super chat from Brat. It says, why spend 500 on an inferior product with lower frame rate, muddy textures, lower graphical settings, PC master race? Last time I checked, you wouldn't get to play Game of the Year last year. You wouldn't get to play runner-up last year when it came out. You didn't get to play a lot of games. You don't get to play God of War. So, look. There's amazing stuff that's on PC, but stop acting like it's all that.
Hold on, Brap. Go update your drivers. Listen, Christopher Hart. I know Sony's gonna kill it, but see, unlike most, day and date, I'm buying 3 of them because I got 3 different televisions. I'm buying 3 Xboxes. So if this doesn't matter to me, I don't care.
Premium talk.
Well, what you have to understand is I'm going to have it all. I'm not limited in myself. I don't care who wins what. I'm just down for who's making the most games.
Shout out to Delilah HD. Yeah, spend $900. Listen, at the end of the day, it's gonna be interesting. I'm very curious to see how Microsoft responds to this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we got on the leak for PlayStation 5. But we're gonna move on to the main event. Lord Addict, man. These Game Awards are causing a lot of controversy. There's a lot.
Oh, was it my topic?
Well, technically it is. So technically it's a shared topic. Let's just say it's a shared
wait,
topic. It's a shared topic. So I mean, I'll start off. We'll set it up, right? So pretty much, obviously, the Game Awards have come, and
but just so everyone in the chat knows, this is the main event. This is the real main event.
This is the main event. This is what the realm wanted to see what the Lords felt, and it's very, very conflicting, very polarizing comments. Twitter is a battlefield right now. We have the Game of the Year nominations that were announced by Jeff Keighley, and obviously we saw a lot of them. Believe it was Control, Death Stranding, Sekiro, and what was the other thing? I'm forgetting off top now.
Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Brothers.
Smash and Outer Worlds.
And the Outer Worlds, correct. So,
Control being in there wants me to rip my eyeballs out.
There were some omissions that had people upset. There was no Gears 5 located there, as well as Jedi Fallen Order, which kind of missed the cut. And apparently, according to the rules, November 15th was the cutoff date, so technically it made it. But then there was a statement issued by the Game Awards stating, hey, they made an internal decision that they didn't have enough time to review the game, so it was.
Bet you if Death Stranding came out on the 15th, it would have made it.
We will get to that, but so look, we're gonna bring it to the realm. Obviously, the point of contention for a lot of gamers, not all, but a lot, is Death Stranding and the amount of nominations it received. I believe it received 9, and the supposed relationship or conflict of interest that some people are pointing with Jeff Keighley, and Hideo Kojima and things of that nature. So let's start it off. I'm gonna actually start with Soph because I don't want to get long. I want to get his perspective. I don't think we've talked too much. What is your feeling on this whole thing? Do you feel it's justified that people have concerns about this? And just in general, like where are you at with the outrage or lack of outrage? Do you feel that he's following protocol because he hasn't voted on the nomination himself? He actually came out with a statement saying, hey, I don't vote on these things. You know what I'm saying? We have an advisory board. So where are you at, Saul?
Right. I mean, I think overall, in general, all of these awards mean nothing. They're super subjective. Everybody has their different awards or whatever. So in general, this is not a big deal. But at the same time, Keighley's awards are the ones that are always front and center at the end of every year. Those are the ones that they stand out more than anybody else's. I know individual outlets have their awards, but these stand out because they make a big presentation out of it, and also people watch them for new announcements, right? Yes. So it's a big deal. And the fact that they've been transparent about the fact that he does not vote on this. They have sort of a committee that with other heads of development houses that vote on this. But at the same time, it's like it can't be underscored the fact that this game just came out and it's got nominated for all of these awards, and his obvious closeness with Kojima and the fact that this event is associated solely with Keighley. Like you have other events, you talk about the Oscars, you talk about the Emmys, whatever the case may be. This is never associated with one person.
Valid point.
So the optics around Keighley being the centerpiece of these awards all the time.
Brap coming at you. Brap, he said $5 super chat. He said Death Stranding nomination was a perfect call. No quid pro quo. He said the aid was released. He said Kojima doesn't even know Jeff. Fake news, Soft. You got hit with fake.
Didn't even know Jeff. What are you talking about?
He just went full Trump.
Yeah, Pick the LSL with $2. Amazing job on the interview. Hope to see more. Yes, we will hope to see more from more developer interviews and hopefully get Lord Stephen back as well. So
aid was released.
Yeah, so you got to respond to that. Brap is coming at you, Soft.
Brap, that was brilliant.
So you saying Luden's fan is just it's just a whatchamacallit, what do you call it? A projection? This love doesn't really exist. I gotta say, listen, Keighley in a way has sort of again, unfairly or unfairly, it's his sort of bloviating around Kojima and how he was treated when he got bumped from Konami and stuff like that.
Right.
You just make people sort of question motivations and whether, again, behind the scenes, he has nothing to do with it. The optics don't look good, regardless to what. They just don't look good. And like I said, the big thing is the fact that these awards are associated with Keeley, no one else. No one else. They just aren't. They never have been. Keeley's the one.
He's always been the face.
Well, he's the host. He's the founder. He's the host and producer of the show.
Exactly. So, with this man getting this many awards for a game that if the game came out and it was universally praised, a God of War universally praised.
Right.
It wasn't universally praised. I didn't praise it.
I said, fine, generally. I don't.
I'm just messing with you, man. Go for it.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this game was divisive. Period. It was divisive across the board. This it kind of doesn't make.
I think it's the sympathy vote, Sovereign.
It doesn't make.
I'm sorry if people don't understand a lot of things that go on with this man. We do not like our icons to be besmirched. Okay, I may joke a lot about this game, but he was not treated fairly at the end. He did not get his gold watch. He was denied the access to the shows because they wanted to be petty with this man, and he gave his hard-earned. Listen, we have a developer on right now, and he just told you the trials and tribulations that he had to go through to get his game out. Okay, so at no point in time will we diminish the efforts of any developer making a game and being treated unfairly in their work environment. So yeah, the outcry for everybody else to rally behind this man and to stand up for this man. I don't care about the game itself. I think a lot of the nominations is based off of the sympathy vote and how this man was treated.
And it goes back to that thing where if anybody else but Kojima, mind you, I don't think anybody else but Kojima makes this game, right?
That's true.
But removing him from the equation, this exact game comes out from someone else.
It's a 55 on the Metacritic.
Well, let me ask you this. Shout out to, first of all, for Brandon Bryce to file a super chat. Thank you, Lords, for having great shows. Thank you, brother, for the super chat and being here.
Let me get to this next one. We got $2 super chat from Snitch. He says, "This is the Kojima Awards."
Oh my God, bushes. He got bushes emojis. Shout out to the new emojis for putting them in the bushes. But here's the thing. Like, I want to ask to Solve and King's point, as far as you guys are playing on this sympathy thing, right? So my question is, do you feel because of what happened with the Konami situation, and we do know Jeff Keighley that year stopped. Remember, Kiefer Sutherland accepted the award because Kojima was unable to. Right. So do we feel because he kind of galvanized the community to make us aware of what happened and why Kojima couldn't accept it, that it kind of, his influence kind of created a sympathetic figure as far as what has happened? Do you feel that him doing that created influence is the question?
I think it did immediately in that moment. But then since then, I mean, the man, Kojima's doing well. We don't have to worry about Kojima, right? Yes.
But obviously he isn't, because his mental state has to be called into
question. Oh my God.
I'm just saying this, right? Any artist in their form, in their craft, their pain is going to come out in their craft.
Oh, this
is a little bit self-indulgent. I believe so.
This game is super self-indulgent. He's telling a lot about his feelings and what he's been through in this game. Absolutely, 100%.
But see, also this, Jeff Keighley being his friend, if your friend and anybody on this panel can understand, you're gonna rally to your friend.
For your friend, yes.
You're gonna ride for him,
yes.
So yeah, is he in a bad position that this is his award show? And again, he made a stance on his last award show that his friend could not be at the award show to pick up his stuff. He brought a light to it, right? So of course, when the game does finally come out, a highly anticipated game, and it does get all his sympathy votes and these nominations and stuff going forward, people are rightly going to look at the individual that is in charge. His name is on the bill. His name is in lights. All right.
So what about King? The people that say when he came out with a statement, he said, "Look, I don't vote. I don't vote." So it's not a sympathy. Like, I don't. He's basically saying with his Twitter, he's literally responding to people directly on Twitter and saying, "I don't vote." What do you say to that?
Right. Look at Rich and Review Tech. Right. And I got a chance to watch his video.
Ooh, fire video.
This is a little bit more deeper than Jeff Keighley. This goes into, what is the group name? Is for Famitsu or
Famitsu is the Japanese.
That's another thing. He had the Japanese. He had Famitsu.
The editor is in the game. Yes.
In the game, and they got They got
perfect 40.
score, which they very rarely get.
Any game that man has been associated in has got a perfect score.
Yes.
So this leads more into why don't we question that man and his nomination that he has he's on the board, right? So they have a vote. He's in the game. He gave the game a perfect score that he is in. This is not the first game that he has also been involved in. There was a Snake Eater and another game, a Japanese only game, and they have gotten perfect scores. So if you want to look at the corruption is led to this one individual. Jeff Keighley does not actually have a vote, but this individual do.
Yeah, let's get the super chats. Get the super chats.
Super chats.
I'll get Jonathan B. Let me get Jonathan B. You get Brad, because I know how.
Why do I always have to get Brad?
You gotta get Brad, because I gotta get. I like how Jonathan B. Spit them bars.
King, I ain't feeling that super chat. You can get Brad.
Yeah, you get Brad. We're all ignoring the real question: is BB old enough to vote at the TGAs? Salute, Lord. So, Brad, if you want to get Solve or King, you want to get Brad super chat?
Oh, you know I got on my shades.
Oh, you got your shit. All right, so y'all want me to read. All right. So if
you got me blind in the morning.
Which one are we reading? Brad?
Brad. Yeah, get Brad.
Okay, shout out to Brad with the $5 super chat. If the sympathy thing was true, Metal Gear Solid 5 would have won Game of the Year. It didn't. Who on the panel has played the game?
All right.
Solve has.
Let me address that. Let me address that before Saul shuts you down. All right. Metal Gear Solid. Okay, so how does that make any sense? We're going to give the company that did that to that man the Game of the Year. That makes no sense.
I didn't even think about it. Hold on now. Before we got Lord Stephen around, I got to be very careful. I don't want to get him in trouble, but he's allowed to comment if he chooses. You know what I'm saying? On this situation. So Lord Stephen, trade carefully. Make sure you don't have anybody NPCs in your game.
Look, Lord Steve. If you feel uncomfortable, you don't know, then just you can
just recuse yourself.
You can recuse yourself as well. We just want to give you the option because we don't want to not include you, but we also want to give you the option.
No. I think it is a sensitive topic, definitely as a developer too. But I will say that I think some of the sympathy thing resonates, but it might be slightly more that gaming needs Kojima. Like gaming I think needs people to be able to hold up as kind of the Spielbergs and Lucases of the art form.
Yes.
Because I think they help give it validity and move it. I think gaming is still, I think all of us here understand gaming as a high form of art and creativity, but the world at large may not see it exactly in that way.
Yes.
And I think without guys like Kojima or Miyamoto or whatever, Miyazaki, you don't. It's harder to establish gaming, at the highest level of creativity. And so I think you have to protect these guys to a degree.
Yes.
I have not played Death Stranding. I've seen a lot of it. I think it has a ton of very interesting ideas. The gameplay, I always like to look at games and say, okay, if you made this in like black and white, 1-bit, visual format, would it still be a good game?
Right.
And I'm not sure that it would be. But I haven't played it yet, so that's hard to say. But I think that some of the sympathy may also be about kind of maintaining the integrity of the highest people inside the game industry.
Yeah, I do want to point out something real quick. Brad keeps saying advisory board this, advisory board that. So I went and looked up this list. Let's briefly go over this list, shall we? We have the Activision president. I'm not saying their names. You could look their names up.
Yeah.
We have the AMD CEO. We have the chief studio officer from EA. We have the Google Phil Harrison. No, we don't need to go too much into him.
Yeah.
Then we have Kojima.
Right.
Then we have Phil Spencer. And then Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo. I don't even know what this one is. Then we have Rock Games, Sony Entertainment, Valve.
Right.
So from that list I said, does it sound like Kojima deserves? Why is he even on the advisory?
Well, that's another question. I mean,
that's another level of corruption.
If you look at it, you have the president of companies, you have this, literally the founders of the industry, pretty much.
Well, that's another thing.
And then
he
you
has
have
his
Kojima.
own company, though.
And then you have Kojima. But I'm saying is he looks he looks like he shouldn't be there.
He's the sore thumb. He's the red herring.
We go from Phil Spencer. He's literally between Phil Spencer and Phil Harrison. Above him is
Are you trying to imply something, Lord?
No, I'm not saying. Look, above him is the CEO of AMD that makes all the hardware. Below him is Rockstar. To the side of him is Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo,
But
and then you got Kojima. Like,
isn't Kojima though one of the pillars in our community? Like,
No,
when we talking about this guy, and I'm talking about on a purely game level,
right?
Because somebody frauded me out on Twitter, and I had to explain to him why I didn't purchase the game.
Because initially you were going to purchase.
Oh yeah, I was gonna buy the game when I knew that you can roll a baby around in his own urine and stuff like that. I was definitely gonna buy the game. I mean, off of the strangeness of that alone, forced me to go get the game.
Real quick before you say that, King. All I was saying is, out of all the people on here, it feels like some people was put on here because of their positions, and he was put on there because of his relations.
That's a strong
and what's wrong
allegation.
with that? What's wrong with that? Because a lot of people get jobs in industries and places for people that they know and not what they know.
It just enforces that, you know, that people that he's literally in here with the biggest people in the industry. He owns a studio. Everyone owns a studio. Like, listen, why is he on here?
Addict, this would not be an issue if this game wasn't an issue. You understand? Because he was on the board before, but nobody cared then. But now it's an issue because
that's because his game didn't win 1 nomination, 2 nominations, 3. It won 10.
Nine.
Listen, he's in Michael Jackson status right now. Let the man breathe. Let him breathe.
Hold on, we missed a super chat. Shout out to Neo Mental with the $5 super chat. Death Stranding is a good game. It's not great. Quit Donald Trumping over here. Music awards are rigged.
NYT Music also.
Did you get the dollar?
Music.
Yeah, get that. Why would you assume Game Awards are? Please get the NYT Music super chat, please.
So what I'm going to use
is he
didn't say anything, but I'm going to use Christopher Hart since Christopher Hart out here capping. Phil Spencer is the executive vice president of the Game Awards. Don't fraud yourselves, people and King. Listen, no, it's not in color, but New York NYT Music didn't put anything, so I'm just going to read somebody random from the chat. Okay. And I'm making sure that I highlight Christopher for this. Nobody's frauding anybody in here. Nobody's capping on this game except for yourself. What we're explaining is the fundamental corruption that we see right here in front of our eyes. Now, I'm not saying Jeff Keighley is the corrupted entity here. I'm looking more at Famitsu, to be honest with you, because that level of corruption has reared its head where he is in games.
Raps on your head.
Kotaku has written articles saying do not trust Famitsu scores.
Yo,
all right, so hold on, Brad.
$5 super chat. The advisory board does not vote on winners, and they do not nominate the games. Jeff doesn't vote and doesn't nominate. Those are
We're not talking about the advisory board voting. Did that ever come out of my mouth? No, it didn't. I never said they voted. I said from a standpoint of looking at that advisory board, Kojima is the odd man out because he doesn't look like he just. You got Phil Spencer. Obviously, he deserves to be there. Explain to me, besides friendship, why he's on there, Brad.
Okay, continue, King, and then I'll jump in.
It's just the fact that it really stinks. And, you know, we're in a community where we are more self-aware. The fingertips, the information is at our fingertips at the moment now. So we can look up stuff, we can see stuff, we can fact check things. So a lot of the corruption that was going along before, when people weren't self-aware and they weren't passing this information on, was going under, you know, the table. Not anymore. So this should be highlighted. This should be talked about. It should be a talking point. Do I care about award shows? No, I don't, because a lot of the games that I love will never be nominated.
Right.
You know, you see games like The Last Station, like I told you guys to go play. I will push it forward 100 times to go play this game, and this game won't be nominated with your top 3 tier games. But
please get Jonathan B. So,
all right. Shout out to Jonathan B. with the $5 super chat. Martin Luther Kojima Jr.
I'm dead.
Run. Our children are able to play games in peace due to his courage.
Oh my Lord!
Oh my
God!
Oh my God! Hold on, $5 super chat. Addict, show me on the doll where Kojima touched you. Yo, they going at you.
I think another thing that we haven't touched upon
and then I'll jump
fundamental to why these awards are always going to sort of be divisive and it's always going to be an issue is that fans, it's neither an award show that's fully voted on by industry people or fully voted on by fans.
Right.
Only 10% of the vote comes from fans. They need to figure out what this, you know what, I would say, if you want to quote unquote legitimize it, Either do one or the other. Make it fully industry or fully fans.
Yeah,
Once
but
you
in
have
his defense, though,
both sides,
fans can't socially engineer. If you look at
like,
those,
absolutely, absolutely. But at the very least, if it's one or the other, you know what those red
Sovereign want to
flags are.
know. We want to peg down the blame. See, Sovereign
sure.
wants to take away the ambiguity of the whole
There's
situation.
mad ambiguity, right? You know,
Thank you, sir. And he definitely want to put that finger on the forehead of the wrong party.
live parties.
Look, man, let me jump in, man. Twitter this is very explosive. I saw a lot of people. So I gotta change it up, man. I gotta do a little shout out. For our brothers, we got Like the Pie at the gravesite. There was a lot of Twitter accounts, gaming brothers, who laid their lives down for us to have this discussion. You know what I'm saying? So rest in peace. Shout out to the
There
Twitter
was a
account.
war.
There was a war going on. Rest in peace. Twitter shout
And
out.
I won.
To my man Lord Boomstick XL, Lord Kid Smooth, Lord Richard of UTech, Lord BG, Lord Salty, because just the mere questioning of this whole thing with Jeff Keighley.
BG says, Lord BG says, if Death Stranding wins Game of the Year, Best Direction, it's gonna ruin gaming.
So look, man, I just want to get like I said, I'll send our condolences to their Twitter accounts, because these guys got bombed for attacking. That there may be some ethical things, and even if it's just 1 minute out the day, they at least allowed us to question. And that's my thing. My thing is, look, I haven't played Death Stranding. I am not going to sit here and fraud and say that this game does not deserve Game of the Year. I haven't played it, right? I just knew that based on looking at
I'm going to say it.
With the core gameplay mechanics, it wasn't for me. Now, I got people that I trust on both sides of this thing that have played it, and they say, Cog, this thing ain't it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is boring. I am not having fun. Then I'm having people, shout out to Whole Law, who finished it. They're saying masterpiece. You know what I'm saying? You get through a little bit, but the storytelling, the connective aspect of the game, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very polarizing game. We have to say that, right? So the whole thing comes down to, okay, I feel that because I haven't played it, I'm not going to comment on it. But at the same time, as far as the Game Awards, now the ethics with the Game Awards, my whole thing is I love the Game Awards. I don't want it to go away. It's like our Oscars, right? We only got nothing like this, right?
It needs to be fixed.
Right. All I'm saying is I don't like the verbiage and the rhetoric that's saying because he said that he doesn't vote, that is the end of discussion. That there is no corruption, there is no conflict of interest, right? That's my issue. Like, we are allowed
no collusion
to question.
No collusion.
We are allowed to question, and like Sov said, and like
just
King
because
said,
he doesn't have any influence in terms of voting doesn't mean he has no influence whatsoever.
That's my point. I'm not even saying
his phone.
definitively. I'm not even. You're ridiculous. I'm not even saying the
DMs.
I am not saying
you check his phone, he broke it. Why'd you break your phone?
There's a phone that went missing.
God. I am not saying definitively the man is engineering awards for this show and for Death Stranding. I'm just saying that the optics don't look good when, one, you are the founder, producer, and host, right?
That's his man. His man deserves those.
We get that, right?
He gonna let his man shine.
Then you're in the game.
Shine away.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, like Saab mentioned, Famitsu. You know what I'm saying? This revered outlet for reviewing games that rarely give a game a perfect score. Perfect score. This guy not only was in Death Stranding, this guy was also in Metal Gear Solid. Whatever,
if I'm correct, LordCognito,
perfect score.
Finissima, people like that are the ones voting.
They're voting, right? So again, all I'm saying is
we got 3 super.
We're gonna get this. All I'm saying is they are not. Let's say they are innocent. They are not giving the game. It's not fair to Kojima. Right?
It's collusion.
Because at the end of the day, now people are going to question, like, yo, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right. And the only thing I'll say to Saul's point, which is very important, which is, again, we know he claims he doesn't vote. He's not on the board. I get that. But
I love it. You said he claims he doesn't.
I just said, listen.
You gonna vote for Kojima.
All I'm saying is when...
It's like one of those things, he goes in the poll, he sits right before, he's like, now you vote for Kojima or you won't come out of this poll.
All I'm saying is that when you are that close, and we all agree Kojima was wronged, right? We all agree the way it was handled was terrible.
Yeah.
What you call it? Keegley stopped the show was very emotional. You know, this is his friend. He was hurt. And he was very emotional to the point of tears. He was very emotional.
Did you just making your point against him right now because he was emotionally invested in his man getting redemption? It's his redemption song.
Right. He stopped the show to acknowledge and have a special song played for him after Kiefer Sutherland went up to get the award because we all knew.
These super chats.
I know. I'm almost done. We're gonna get all the super chats. So the whole point of the matter is we cannot deny, because he stopped his own show for this, right? That he has influence. That's all I'm trying to say. He has.
No, listen. I think the whole thing stinks from high heaven. But not to say it's just him. It's all over. The board looks bad, baby. It's just,
let's get the super chat. Let's get this. Get the super chat. Let's get it there.
Okay, so did you guys get Did you guys get Brett where he said he asked me?
Yeah, we got
okay.
that. You got Dizzy.
So we have Dizzy. Dizzy with the $5 super chat. The biggest question should be Jedi Fallen Order launch on release date but not nominated. Pushed to next year against The Last of Us 2 and Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
You know what? They definitely lose. And what's funny is Jedi could have won Game of the Year this year. Yeah, it was that good. But it's not beating them games next year.
Yeah, had a shot. Shout out. I get the next one. Brat with the $2 super chat. I'm playing Death Stranding. It's top 5 of Game of the Year. Get the next one. Somebody.
So we got a $2 super chat from Stitch. It says, fraud alert, fraud alert, fraud alert, fraud alert. We got a $2 super chat from Shroom Kingdom. Check Joffrey. Check Jeff's
email service.
Check Jeff's email services. Man, you're gonna have to just lay off me. Then we got a $5 super chat from Brat. Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft help financially back the award shows too. Regarding Famitsu, they only have one vote to the other 79 outlets. Perfect call. Well, you know what? You know what, Brad? There's countless people that are saying this game in a negative light and still giving it a 10 out of 10.
Forget about the Game Awards and Famitsu. The Famitsu problem is the 10s.
Yeah,
the 40 out of 40.
Yeah,
and they're not the only one that did that.
Right.
But also, we got another super chat.
Cat Daddy Facet. Kojima is Jeff Splackerville? What is that? I don't even know what that means. Splackervelli. Oh, okay. Yeah. Those say shout out. Okay, so look, we got that part out.
What time is it?
I know we're about to wrap up soon. We almost.
Yeah.
I know.
We ain't doing that today.
I know. Look, obviously we have a lot, to say about this thing, and it's very controversial. So my whole thing is, again, we are allowed to question. That's just what I want to get across. You know what I'm saying? And then the only thing is about, the whole process. Like, as far as we all know, relationships and just being transparent. And the fact that, remember, the Famitsu guy, they had to find out. Like, that wasn't immediately transparent that these guys are in the game. You know what I'm saying? We know Conan O'Brien's in the game. That's another story. I'm going to get into that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, transparency, they need to do that. And then as far as the whole voting thing, you know what I'm saying? And I really want to get this point out, and I want to shout out Kotaku, because she had an ex, I believe, Heather Alexandria. This should be a great point. This is what she said in the article. She said, the Game Awards, like many other big award show, is a quagmire of potential conflicts of interest. It is as much a celebration of the year as games. It is an opportunity to bring in viewers to show hot new trailers and revealing big new games. The show is peppered with commercials and exclusive reveals from the same companies whose games are nominated for awards and whose members are on the Game Awards boards. And he said, of course, one look at the Hollywood reveals a similar situation. Anyone who's participated in the Oscars or Emmys might tell you, but there's a key difference here, and this is Saul's point. The Oscars and Emmys aren't associated with a single man. The Game Awards has existed since 2014 and has been produced, hosted, and promoted by Jeff Keighley. His public relationship with Kojima ultimately affects how people might read into Death Stranding's nominations and any potential eventual wins. That is the point here. Again,
Yep.
no one is saying definitively corruption, but ethics, optics.
Absolute power
one
corrupts
of,
absolutely.
One of the biggest things I wanted to point out that I heard Soft say earlier is why do we only get 10% of the equation here?
Right.
Like, why? That makes no sense to me. That's like you're giving 90% to the people who gave this game a 10 out of 10 and stuff. Like,
No, I get it though. I mean, listen, I read the review, the rules as to why they have the 10%, and a lot of it they say it's social engineering. But I do agree. I do wish the fans had more of.
Then it should be like 70-30. It should not be 90-10.
Yeah.
That feels like it's low-key trying to trying to fix the race. Like that really does. You give the people that actually has a voice, you give them 10%. But you give the people that we just pointed out, the Phoenicians, like they're the ones that giving this game at a 10 out of 10.
Right.
They're giving this game almost perfect scores and doing nothing but talking negative about it in the review. You're giving them 90.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And like I said, hopefully, this could be a teaching point for him moving forward, that he may need to
remove Keegley from the show.
I'm not going there. That he may need to recuse himself a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Brad for 2 hours. We need Jeff to produce the blue track. He's stupid.
Well, at the end of the day, before we wrap this up, I'm not saying that Jeff's going intentionally and telling people, holding the gun to their head, you vote for Jeff or you vote for Keeley or you're done.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the whole system needs to be reworked.
Right.
I feel
I'm
like
saying that he's not doing it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it just looks stinky.
I feel like Jedi. I feel like Star Wars. It coming out on the 15th, it being so highly rated. They should have look, we're gonna have to make an exception. We're gonna have to wait a couple days so we can put that in there because we know our fans want it.
No doubt.
I feel like there was multiple things like the fact that Stranding got action eventually.
I don't think anyone is going to be happy with award shows. All right.
Yeah, of course.
But this is the worst one I've seen in a long time.
Listen, I just like trailers. So to new games, I like to focus on new stuff coming out, and I don't care about what somebody else votes for what. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to vote for whatever I like.
I gotta.
What? Hurry up.
I'm gonna read this. I low key. Okay, this is from Cat Daddy Fat. I low key want Death Stranding to sweep besides the new game announcement. The awards are boring. Death Stranding is the best thing to happen to VGA.
I will say this. This is probably the most polarizing game I've ever come across.
I want to go over the panel real quick. Just say your quick thing.
Yeah.
If Death Stranding wins Game of the Year, what do you think the reactions are going to be?
Oh, Twitter's going to burn. That's my prediction. Twitter's going to burn. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be hot out here in these streets. But look, we got to move on. King, you want to just brace through your topic as far as Amazon, and then we out of here?
Oh, no, don't even worry about it. Listen, I told you guys Amazon is coming. That's it.
Amazon's coming. They're in the building. Real quick, Project X Cloud supposed exclusive games now has been debunked. They've made a statement, and they said that they are they have to correct, I believe, SteveIver.com.
It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, they said basically they contacted Steve Iver. They clarified their position on the XO19. They said we are investigating a variety of new capabilities made possible by the cloud. A statement from a Microsoft spokesman read, however, we remain committed to an approach with game streaming that is complementary to console and have no plans for cloud exclusive content at this time.
Yeah, that's stupid.
So
I think cloud, when they say cloud exclusive content as per se as a game specifically made for the cloud, but I do think they will sort of go along that route. The same thing that Stadia said they were going to do. Like on Stadia, you can have a game with 1,000 people in it. I think xCloud
stadium games.
Right. But something like that's an addition to a regular Xbox game that they can do that with a multiplayer or something like that.
So I don't think that's their business model, but maybe if that allows us to get the World of Warcraft with the 50-man raids and all that other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Let the power of the cloud shine through, because now we are seeing all these plans that they put into place. And before they was talking prematurely. They was talking out of turn. They was talking from a position of weakness. They wasn't talking from a position of strength. 50 laws of powers, people. What you have to understand, you never talk out of turn. You don't talk until you're ready. You never let someone force your hand. And this is what I'm talking about when I see things happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe he just talked out of turn. But those stuff will
I
come
agree.
to fruition later.
I actually agree with that too, and I just think, obviously, I think King, you were onto something. We know, a lot of these services and stuff like that is in preparation. We call them affectionately, Lord Stephen, the White Walkers of Google and Amazon. The streaming wars. We feel that guys are combining forces with Microsoft Azure Cloud. We see Sony has jumped on board, so we're doing our little Game of Thrones references with this whole streaming wars thing. Amazon, I think, is a serious threat. I do think, I work in IT. AWS is very widespread. As far as, we already know about Amazon Prime and the infrastructure on the storefront. Obviously, King, you've been playing Fire Tablet stuff in games for a while.
Yes.
We have to see how serious they commit, to that. But I do think that they are something to watch out for. And let's be honest, like King said with his whole 48 laws of power thing, like one thing is sometimes you let people go first and, experiment, and then you kind of come behind and correct and refine. So I see Lord Stephen shaking his head. Just want to give him a minute on this topic real quick as our last thing. What do you feel about Amazon in the streaming business as a contender?
I think from a company perspective and infrastructure perspective, I don't think anyone is better set up to succeed at cloud anything than Amazon, right? Like they longer, they definitely have all the infrastructure. They know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They unfortunately don't know much about gaming, right? Maybe
that was smooth. That was smooth how you said that.
Well, they kind of have like that. They have that game engine they bought. I don't know. They have a game studio they started up. I don't know how successful they've been. So whether they know how to navigate from a marketing and kind of packaging perspective, the waters of gaming, I think will remain to be seen. Mm-hmm. But AWS, as you say, is very strong. They have the technology to do it. So it's definitely possible from that perspective. But, Microsoft, for the most part, is caught up with Azure.
Yeah.
AWS definitely had a head start, but I think Microsoft's caught up. And Microsoft, and definitely Xbox is first and foremost about gaming. And so I think they have a bit of an advantage.
No doubt. Shout out to
Lord Stephen. Yeah. My biggest concern with these larger corporations, they seem to be hollow and soulless, right? Mm-hmm. And they fill up their coffers with those people that do have those souls and stuff like that. Because let's say, this is what I'm saying, God forbid, I love you in Game Pass, but let's say, God forbid, Amazon comes and knocks on your door and give you that offer that you can't
He's
refuse.
locked in contractually, sir.
No, I'm talking about for right now. He's locked in.
He's locked in. We're not going to do that.
We're talking about on future IPs and stuff like that.
Okay. I see.
If these individuals see that excellence in your game, because your game is excellent, and they see the excellence in your game, and they recognize that, what's to stop these dudes from coming to you, knocking on the door, and dropping that bag down and starting to buy up a whole conglomerate of independent developers that are independent at the moment right now, and forming their own banner. So, but like you said, the only fear is that the lack of direction, the lack of focus, and then you don't understand where they're going with it. Whereas these bigger entities, as far as Microsoft in the gaming space, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, they have a focus. They have been here. They have been able to deliver product, and they can give you a better, clear view going forward. If they don't invest in you, and these dudes invest in you, that's the biggest issue that we fear at the moment. That's what I
think it's a good point, actually. And I think I don't know if you guys have seen that movie Thank You for Smoking, but there's that one scene where the former Marlboro man is trying to sue the tobacco companies, and then Aaron Eckhart's character comes in with a big gigantic suitcase of money and he dumps it on the ground, and he's like, well, if you don't want this, I'll just light it on fire. And I think it's easy for me to say, well, I would definitely stick with A versus B because I'm more loyal, whatever, but I think it's a totally different thing to be faced with that situation and really be able to,
we call it backing the truck up. That's what we call it.
Yeah, right. It's
Don't you guys remember the podcast where we talked about low-key taking bribes?
It is what it is, but I also see the predicament that everybody is looking at when it comes to these streaming wars and what's at stake, to be honest with you. Maybe these guys don't understand it, the younger generation, but we've been here long enough to understand the comings and goings of certain companies.
Yes.
And you've actually been behind the desk of being the head of companies and stuff like that. And you yourself are the head of your company now. So you have to navigate going forward. So in these uncertain times, we want to see certain things happen. We want to see certain companies thrive, but these bigger entities, as far as Google, Amazon, Netflix, and stuff like that, that have the streaming capabilities to get this stuff to your house, they can take over. And where do we stand then?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my big concern.
It's going to be interesting. Go ahead, Stephen.
I was going to say is, hopefully at the end of the day that the consumer still has enough power, through their decisions of, which subscription services they support or don't support,
right?
To help influence things. But I think it's always a tough balance between, the corporatization and the kind of hyper, materialization of things versus the desire and need to have fresh new thinking as well as fresh things to enjoy from all aspects of life, right? Whether it's games or politics or whatever. And so I think that balance has to be maintained. I think that sometimes that balance gets out of whack, and I think right now you hear people talk about the inequality gap a lot, and I think that that's not a good thing, right? I think that you effectively are living in a monarchy, right? But it's just done in a different way, and I think that's not a good thing. The free market works when there's competition. It doesn't work when there's
brother. Absolutely.
So, I think all the different streaming services are interesting. I think it's going to be really. I wonder if what we'll get back to is, like when we were kids, anyone in their 40s, there was like a handful of TV stations, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's like this explosion of TV stations.
Yes.
And the cable companies do, right? They consolidate these TV stations into different packages, and then you kind of feels like a couple of TV stations again, because it really.
You only watch like
the
3.
TV stations are being brought into a package, and you're going to get the package or the movie package or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that will just happen again with these streaming services. Like eventually they'll all get consolidated under certain banners, and then you'll buy I'm interested in action movies versus dramas or whatever, and it'll come full circle again. I don't know, but it does definitely seem like things travel in waves, and it's great when you're at the start of a wave because it's all new, fresh and no one knows what to do. It kind of sucks away when everyone's kind of boxed it out and figured out how to squeeze all the juice out of it. So it'll be really interesting to see.
Very interesting to see, man. So like I said, Amazon's the new player in the
Very
building.
well said, sir.
Very well said, sir. We'll see what happens. Obviously, have the Twitch integration, all that good stuff. But we are going to wrap up the show. Last thing we do is our poll question. So we got the new ILP poll with the recent controversy regarding Jeff Keighley's non-involvement regarding the Game Awards nomination process. Do you feel there are still ethical concerns in regards to Death Stranding's 9 nominations? The choices are A, no, Jeff doesn't vote on nominations, and this is only an issue for fanboy agendas.
That's perhaps one.
B, yes, Jeff Keighley is founder, host, producer with influence, impropriety.
That's mine.
Or C, I don't care. Y'all just mad Control took Jedi and Fallen Order and Gears 5 spot.
That's Disney.
That is the question. Those are choices. Please rock the vote when it goes up tomorrow on ILP Twitter. Lord Stephen Danton of UntoTheEnd Studios in the building. An absolute pleasure to have him in the room. He actually did the marathon, stayed with the Lords throughout. Wow. Didn't expect this. That was a super treat. First of all, thank you for coming into the realm. Where can the fine people find you, and what do you have going on, sir?
The best place to grab me is on Twitter, just at UntoTheEnd Studios. I love, and it's also Steam Discussions, probably the only other discussion place I'm at. I love chatting about games and game theory and game design. So if anyone wants to ping me on there, I'm happy to dive into things.
No doubt.
And then in terms of what I'm doing, working really hard, taking a little bit of a break for Christmas, going back to Toronto area. I'm actually looking forward to some snow.
Nice.
And, because I'm now in California and the weather's beautiful.
You got to get that feel. You got to get that Unto feel.
Exactly. I missed it. So. But I just want to say thanks again, guys. It was really a blast chatting with you guys. Thanks for the support, the love. It means a ton to Sarah and I. And I think at the end of the day, that's why we make these games, is for guys like you that are passionate about this stuff, and really appreciate it. And I think you're doing a great job with the podcast in general. It's really interesting stuff. And
Thank
you so much, brother. Really means a lot. You have no idea. Like I said, continue on your journey. We will be tracking this thing, following you guys all the way to release. That'll be cool. Hopefully we'll get you back in the realm, once you actually get that street date and you're in Game Pass. That'd be great, man.
I love that.
Absolutely. Lord Addict. Absolute pleasure to get you back in the realm. Where can the fine people find you? What you got going on, sir?
get me back in the realm.
Yeah, you're
Like
back.
I missed last
You
week.
were back. As soon as we had Zillion talk and the classic consoles, you left.
Man, every time you talk about age, I'm gonna call that. What's the perfect word for? I'm gonna call that royal age stuff, man. I don't want nothing to do with that royal
Listen,
age.
youngin, you need to know your history. You got to know where it came from, damn it.
Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you got a chance to play Zillion, you will understand what he's talking about.
Exactly.
If I had a chance to play
Zillion 2?
Zillion, I would get my blanket and have a good nap.
You see, we got to deal with these youngins. You see, we got to deal with the young generation. Got to educate them. Shout out to Addict.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Lord ILP. Oh, no, that's the wrong one.
That's not where you are.
Lord Addict ILP. Okay, I'm still a little tired. You'll have to excuse me.
Yeah, remember, it was a struggle today for him.
You can find me out on YouTube at Gaming Addict. I will be releasing my Star Wars review Monday.
Woo!
Yes,
so definitely look out for that. I beat it.
Of course.
And you can, I want to thank Lord Stephen for coming on here. I'm definitely gonna review your game. It looks like my kind of game.
Cool.
And I want to thank everyone for coming in the chat. Even Brat. And we might joke around, but I got mad love for Brett, and
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go eat breakfast. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man. No doubt. Lord Sovereign, back in the realm. Where can the people find you? What you got going on, sir?
Yeah, man. First off, like big shout out to Steven and Sarah. I'm absolutely so excited for this game. Everything about the game is for me. From the look of it, which is evocative of like another world and like below and inside and things like that. From the combat that in its simplicity kind of reminds me of Street Fighter back in the day, how we used to and even Tekken, like the first couple of iterations of Tekken where distance mattered and just things like that just it's simple but at the same time very deep. And then obviously the environmental storytelling with the music and the ambiance. Everything about this game screams me. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that you guys are in a position now where you can worry about the art, not worry about the money so much.
Facts.
Finishing the art. I'm so excited for you guys. I'm so excited for this game. So
Thanks, man. Really
thank you for coming through.
Shout out to Game Pass, helping that.
Yeah.
You had to get that out there. You know what I'm saying?
In that Switch version.
Oh yeah, Switch version. Shout out to Switch version. Yes.
Oh, God. It's challenging. It's challenging.
Lord King suffering with multi-platform conversion talk today. People find you. What you got going on, sir?
Okay, Lord Stephen, I would like to thank you and your wife for sharing your story today. It was truly beautiful and very powerful, and it also tells people that you and your partner can make it through things. So, trust me, that was a very great story, and because you're living it, but also Cognito with his dog determination. I'm telling you, I had to hear so much about this game. He's like, yo, I'm telling you, it has levels when you're fighting. It's like a fighting game, but it's like flashback. And he was so onto it. And then when it popped up on the screen, and then when he reconnected with you guys, also, I'm privy to the background. You're supposed to be on before. He's like, yo, don't worry. We're going to have them on. They're going to be on. They're going to be on. And this day was so anticipated. Yes. I was so out of it today, like my throat, I'm out of it. But after I watched the vignette, there was no way in hell that I was going to miss this show today.
That's right.
Because you deserve that level of respect because all the hard work, even in the vignette, I'm like, my God, I got to play this game. Yeah. So when I saw it's coming to Game Pass, it allowed me to understand that, okay, we privy to certain things, but there's other people that are going to get a chance to touch your game and you're going to spread all over. And you will be immortalized because I can see your heart in that game.
Facts, man. No doubt, man.
Yeah. So trust, I hope that you open up a whole new genre. I hope that genre is talked about, the Stephen genre, the Stephen and Sarah genre. You understand? And going forward, that stuff is definitely recognized because I do appreciate your time here. Guys, anybody that joined today, God bless. Thank you so much. We do appreciate everybody that joins the realm, part of the Patreon, part of the podcast. You guys sitting through us to 4 hours. and our retainership is so beautiful, and you guys in the chat are so nice to each other.
Yes.
I mean, y'all go back and forth, but it's not disrespectful, and y'all are very
Facts.
clean and very nice, and I do
Facts.
appreciate that, because what we pride ourselves on is family first, and today is the epitome of family first, and that was so beautiful.
Facts. Well said, King.
You can catch us at you see
King of Statues
in the back. Go check that out, and Combat Talk is up. You know, check that out, and also watch LordCognito and Ibanez as they talk about what's going on with this. What was the name of it again?
We got the Destiny, we got the Anthem, and what was the other? We talked a little Jedi Fallen Order too on last week.
Yes, you
No
did.
doubt, man. Salute to King. Yeah, King said it best, man. At the end of the day, like I said, salute to the chat today. Everybody was fantastic. You know, salute to everyone who didn't know about Unto the End, and I saw them guys like, yo, give me that information. Where's their page? Like, you know, salute to them, man. Support our independent developers, man. Again, creative thought, things that sometimes, you know, might not be able to go under the big AAA banner.
They're the only ones willing to take risks.
To take the risks.
Unlike the EAs that's been making the same game.
Easy. We might try to get EA on the show. Easy.
Cut it out now.
Easy. Don't mess up future guests.
Just talking about how great
Shout out to Respawn Entertainment. Shout out to Respawn. Huge fan of Respawn.
We
here at the Lord do not condone what Lord Addict has just said.
Man,
he's going rogue. He's
going rogue.
What's funny is 1 week you guys tell me to be true, and the next week you tell me to lie.
No. He
Listen.
has not eaten. He is delirious right now. He's
Listen.
delirious.
Vince Penpella, we're huge fans. Anytime you want to be in the realm, anytime, sir. Pay Addict any mind. He does not represent the thoughts of the Lord. No jokes aside. No, but all jokes aside. Seriously, like I said, just to see the journey and to hear the story. These are the things we like to celebrate, the stories that you don't hear. You know, as gamers, sometimes we're selfish. Why isn't this game coming out? And we want, and all this other crap. And you really hear the truth behind these things. And that's the stuff we try to celebrate. So salute to that. Salute to the chat. Salute to subscribers. Again, the audio will be going up by Lord Kabatsu on all your major audio platforms later tonight. We'll have the poll up tomorrow. And lastly, please support lordsofgaming.net. Great articles, great reviews, more stuff coming in from the team, so please check us out. That's all I got.
Before you close out, next week we're gonna ask LordCognito what he feels about Gears 5.
Oh yeah, because hopefully we're gonna have that beat, man.
This is game of the year. Bye.
Shout out to everybody on that. But please, everybody, enjoy your Sunday. On that note, everybody got anything else?
Happy Thanksgiving to all. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, just spend some time with your family.
Just eat. That's all you got to do to celebrate Thanksgiving.
Meat. Do not kill a turkey.
Look, we don't condone what Lord King is saying, all right? The Iron Lords podcast, besides him, we eat meat, all right?
We're getting messy. It's late. I got to get to a football game. I'll catch you guys later.